I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. on January 26, 2021. Good evening and welcome to the Elk Grove Unified School District's virtual school board meeting through the Zoom webinar platform. We thank you for joining us and ask for your patience in advance as we navigate this platform for conducting school board meetings. Legislative bodies, including school districts, are now permitted to hold board meetings telephonically or by other electronic means because on March 17, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order N2920, suspending certain provisions of the California Ralph M. Brown Act. In addition, consistent with the March 19, 2020 statewide shelter-in-place order issued by the governor, Executive Order N3320, the Sacramento County Shelter-at-Home orders issued on March 19, 2020 and April 7, 2020, and the Center for Disease Control social distancing guidelines, which discourage public gatherings, this special board meeting is conducted via the Zoom webinar platform. Public comments can be submitted to the board about items on the special board meeting agenda. Because this is a special board meeting, only comments directly related to an item on the agenda will be read during the appropriate part of the meeting. Individuals with questions or comments on general school district issues may address those issues at a regularly scheduled board meeting. All electronic public comments that were submitted to the board through the Google platform will be provided to the board in writing. Please be advised that everyone participating via Zoom webinar is muted and all board member votes will be by roll call. Members of the board present today are myself, Board President Beth Albiani, Board Clerk Dr. Crystal Martinez-Alier, Board Member Nancy Cheris Espinoza, Board Member Carmine Forcina, Board Member Tony Perez, and Board Member Sean Yang. In addition, today's Zoom webinar is being video recorded and will be available on the district's YouTube channel. I'd like to call on, Mr. I did not arrange a Pledge of Allegiance person. I have a volunteer to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Mr. Forcina. I appreciate it.
Your mic's muted, Carmen.
I was waiting for the flag. Ready? Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. So the process. Board member interview process orientation. This meeting will be considering candidates to fill the provisional vacancy on the board of the Elk Grove Unified School District. We appreciate the interest that has been expressed in joining our board, and we are excited about the opportunity to make this important decision. For the benefit of those who are viewing this meeting, please allow me to review the process that we will be following. I will reread the following information. I'll be reading this information because I want to make sure I don't leave anything out. Under the California Educational Code, the school board has 60 days from when a vacancy is created on the board to fill that vacancy. Tonight, we consider making a provisional appointment within the 60-day time frame. The appointment is made based on a majority vote of the school board. This appointment will become effective immediately. The term of the person appointed to the board depends on the term of the person who vacated the board position. In this case, the term of the former board member, Bobby Singh Allen, was set to end in late 2022. Therefore, the person selected for this provisional board vacancy will hold office until the next regularly scheduled election for district board members, which will be November 2022. During the 2022 election, a person will be elected to fill the 4-year term of office for trustee number 4. The California Educational Code recognizes the appointment as a provisional appointment that can be challenged if a sufficient number of individuals submit a petition calling for an election. Because of the cost of a special election, we hope that such an election will not be necessary. The Sacramento County Registrar's Office has estimated that a special election will cost the district between $2 to $4 million. The 4 candidates being interviewed were selected by the board subcommittee after review of the applications received in the superintendent's office. All 4 candidates will be asked to remain logged onto the meeting throughout the interview process. Candidates will be asked questions on a rotating basis to ensure maximum fairness in the interview process. For example, the board will ask the first question to candidate A. Candidate A will then have 5 minutes to answer that question. The board will then ask the same question to candidate B, candidate C, and candidate D. The order will then rotate for the second question, where candidate B will have the first opportunity to answer. Then candidate C, candidate D will go third, followed by candidate A. The order will continue to rotate for every question. We have 4 questions, so every candidate will have a chance to be first. The initial order of the candidates has been determined using a randomized selection process. Public comment will remain open for 15 minutes after the last candidate answers the last question. After public comments have been read to the board member will be asked to give the names of their top 2 candidates. After comments by all board members present, a board member can make a motion and a vote will be taken to make the appointment. Again, we want to thank all of the candidates for their interest in serving. Okay, before I do that, do you understand that? Are there any questions from my board or for any of the candidates? I'm happy to answer.
Could you read the motion process again?
Sure. So after we finish the question process, Mr. Perez, we're going to do a straw poll. You're going to ask for 2 people, and we will see where we stand at that point. And then each board member will have 3 minutes to talk about the position, the board position, and any the board position and anything they would like to say. We will all have a chance to speak. And then I will entertain nominations to fill the position. So we will hear from everybody. We will take a straw poll, see if that narrows the selection. We will all get a chance to speak for, we're trying for 3 minutes. And then we will take nominations.
My question, what time can we make a motion? You say we can take a motion. The last sentence I said.
After everybody speaks, Mr. Perez, we want to make sure we've heard public comment and everybody on the board has had a chance to speak.
Make a motion for what?
After we have taken our straw poll, and then we have a chance to see if any candidates have become more obvious to be the top people to vote on, then we will each take 3 minutes to speak. And then after everybody has had a chance to speak, then I will entertain nominations to fill the position.
No, okay, I guess you don't understand my question.
I'm sorry.
You mentioned that board members could make a motion. Sometimes-
Motion
After
to fill the
everybody
position.
speaks.
Yeah, a motion to fill the position, Mr. Perez. So that'll be
After we heard everybody, correct?
Yes,
Correct.
after we've heard all the candidates speak and after we've heard the public comment and we have heard all the board members speak, Mr. Perez.
All right, thank you.
And then once we have the nominations, then we will continue to vote on them in the order the people were nominated.
who's our timekeeper?
I've asked Mr. Pierce to be the timekeeper so the board can concentrate on listening to the candidates.
Oh, great. That was my recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any other questions, Mr. Perez? Does that make sense to you now? Did I get your question? You're on mute, sir. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're good?
Yes, I want to make sure that my Dr. Martinez call member there had 100% ears and eyes and everything instead of taking time of the situation. So where's Mr. Pierce at? Is he visible here?
He's on the screen. His video is off at this moment, sir.
Well, I'd like to see him.
Yes, I'm here,
Well,
Mr.
let me-
Perez.
And let me ask you this, will you give like a 10-second notice before the time is up also for the candidates?
If that is what the board desires, I'm happy to do that.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think,
So,
I suggest we do a 30-second.
yeah, I think telling people they
That
have
way,
30
that way
more
it gives
seconds.
people a little bit of time to wrap up their thought. 10 seconds, people are just going to feel like they have to just stop talking. But we'll make an announcement at the 30-second mark, and that way they can kind of make sure what they want, how they want to wrap up.
yes, and my experience in other boards, they usually like to have a flashcard and say, hey, 30 seconds, 20, 10, like that. Is that possible for the candidates?
We're just going to make the 30-second
Announcement, all right. What about the 10?
I think 30 seconds will. I think 30 seconds will work.
All right, thank you.
They'll finish up, Mr. Perez. We're not going to penalize someone for going a few seconds over. Mr. Pierce, can you do the same when the board members speak, please, and give them a 30-second warning? Thank you. Okay, excellent idea. Thank you, Mr. Perez. Okay, I want to thank all the candidates for their interest in serving on the board of the Elk Grove Unified School District. Our decision tonight is going to be a hard one. Regardless of what we decide, we hope that this process will encourage all participants and anyone else in the audience or following this process to consider running for the school board in the future. Each candidate will start the interview of applicants. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to answer each of the 4 questions and 3 minutes to make a closing statement. In an effort to ensure maximum fairness, board members can only reread the question they have been assigned to. No further engagement will be allowed. Our candidate order for tonight is candidate number 1, Ali Moa. If I've mispronounced your name, please let me know. Our candidate number 2 is Ms. Keyshawn Thortona. Candidate number 3, Khadijah. Thank you. Khadijah Alum. And candidate number 4, Gina Jamerson. Thank you. We'll now proceed with our interview questions. Each of the board members will be asking you a question, and I will not be talking again till the end.
Somewhat embarrassing. Where do I get my question?
Your question was sent to you at 3:38 today.
Well,
Let's see.
at 3:30 to 5 o'clock, I was doing, I was serving as a judge. So let me go.
Fantastic. Well, let us take a pause while you get that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was doing health tech judging for Valley High School.
Oh, excellent.
So I left there at 5 and got online here. So I need to go and
Okay.
see my question.
Okay.
Mr. Porcina, the question
Madam
will
Chair,
show
are
up
we
on
doing
the screen.
intros first?
Pardon? Chris just said the question will show up on the screen.
Question's
So
gonna
if
show
that's
up on
the
the screen.
case.
Yes, and it's your question, so you'll be familiar with it when you see it.
Okay.
Okay, can I ask a question? Madam Chair, aren't we doing intros before Q&A?
We do not have an intro planned. We have a closing statement for each candidate.
Oh, okay. I
And
thought there was a
checking the pronunciation.
5-minute intro that had been in the plan.
I'm sorry, it's not in the script. It is not in the plan tonight.
Okay.
We'd like to start with number 1 with Dr. Martinez-Alier, please.
I have the first question. An effective board member requires both public meeting attendance, attendance at school events, and hours of preparation. What do you feel are the elements of a high-functioning school board, and how would you contribute to the cohesiveness of the EGUSD board? And that's for candidate number 1.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. It's very important in any organization, especially a school board, to be able to work together, not only as a team, but individually as well. The number one element in my mind is that you have to have a roadmap or a plan that has been discussed and analyzed by all the board members and agreed upon by the board members. Having a consensus of a plan, a future plan, is very important. Having a consensus and understanding of the different directions that each board member has and how it affects the community is also an important element. Another important element in my mind of having an effective board and board member is being able to understand the interests and the commitment level from each board member in making sure that we have a high quality education for all of our students. Those are the main elements of having an effective board member, and as well as a board, is having the ability to work individually, working as a team, having a roadmap that has been agreed upon, and working towards that roadmap and holding each other accountable in reaching the goals that are set. Thank you.
I will read the question for candidate number 2. An effective board member requires both public meeting attendance, attendance at school events, and hours of preparation. What do you feel are the elements of a high-functioning school board, and how would you contribute to the cohesiveness of EGUSD?
Thank you. Well, one, I feel like knowing what the mission and value and the plan of the district is, having a clear understanding of what that is, and then also being connected to the community that you serve. So understanding all the stakeholders, being a participant in the community, and understanding the needs of everyone involved. Being a team player is really important. Always being respectful. That's a huge element in order for a functioning board. Being respectful of everyone's views and not rushing to decisions, really being methodical in how you come to your conclusions, listening, observing, understanding and analyzing the relationships of the issues and how they intertwine with what you're hearing in the field. That's important. And being able to contribute using my experience and my role in the community and as a parent of a student in the community and a volunteer in the community, using all of those experiences in determining how to, in determining the questions that should be asked. So being able to take what I can contribute and making sure that I voice those opinions, voice those questions, and voice the concerns on behalf of the students and families and staff involved. So I would think being collaborative, hearing all the board members as well, and understanding the district's perspective on certain issues, on all the issues. And I think that's really the most important, is having good understanding, being clear as to what what I'm hearing, and being respectful, just making sure I'm always listening and observing and understanding the relationships of how all the issues are related, and being a team player. Thank you.
I'll read the question again for candidate number 3. An effective board member requires both public meeting attendance, attendance at school events, and hours of preparation. What do you feel are the elements of high functioning school board, and how would you contribute to the cohesiveness of the EGUSD board?
Yes, thank you for that question, Ms. Martinez-Alaire. Madam President Albiani, board members, Superintendent Hoffman, and the EGUSD community. It is with great enthusiasm and humility that I sit here before you seeking your endorsement to serve as Elk Grove Unified School District's board trustee, Area 4. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the question. My name is Khadija Alam. To answer your question, working together as a team, having a right vision to incorporate and making decisions and creating policies on behalf of our children and our community is how the school board can be working together. You have to have the right vision. You have to listen to each other. You have to learn from each other. You have to be respectful towards each other. No matter if you have a difference of opinion, you have to have those conversations in a most respectful way. And that is what a cohesive, well-functioning board can do, can contribute to the community. In terms of what I would bring to the school board, if you are looking for someone who can roll up her sleeves and get to work tomorrow morning on behalf of our children and behalf of our districts, someone who's willing to learn from you, someone who is going to be a respectful colleague, someone who will be a team player, someone who will be actively listening across the board from different perspectives, stakeholders, and bringing humanity and purpose to difficult conversations. And above all, will always put our children first, then I would be your right choice. And if I have the honor of serving as your EGUSD trustee. Thank you.
Last candidate, number 4. An effective board member requires both public meeting attendance, attendance at school events, and hours of preparation. What do you feel are the elements of a high functioning school board, and how would you contribute to the cohesiveness of the EGUSD board?
Thank you. Good evening, President Albiani, Superintendent Hoffman, the board. I want to thank you first and foremost for the opportunity to come before you as a candidate for Trustee Area 4. In order to be a part of a cohesive working board, I think that first and foremost, you need to respect your other board members by making sure that you have that level of commitment and that you prepare and show up to board meetings and events prepared and understanding not only the vision, but the issues that are brought before you by the board, by policy, state policy, and your constituents. I think in order to ensure cohesion as a board, communication is key. And not just in being able to articulate your viewpoint, but in making your own voice heard, but more importantly, in being able to be an active listener. You need to have an ability to see issues from a variety of perspectives so that you can try and achieve balance in resolution. And I think that having a board with a diversity of thought and perspective is critical to ensuring that innovative strategies and solutions are created to serve students of the district. But I think getting to know and building trust with your fellow board members can lead to a shared understanding and a mutual respect so that you can hear that diversity of thought and be open to those innovative strategies. My experience in more than 20 years of working in the field of education, working on a variety of boards and committees and work groups and leading teams has prepared me to learn how to work as part of a team, how to value diversity of thought, how to be an active listener and see a situation from multiple perspectives. And it has also given me the ability to hone my diplomacy skills and my leadership to be able to move conversations forward, to keep a team on track and focused, to be able to get the work done that needs to be done on behalf of our constituents and most importantly, on behalf of our students. Thank you.
Mr. Perez, you have the second question. You're on mute, sir.
Okay.
Good to go?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay, candidate number 1. Please share your experiences in leadership roles and any examples of working in education, generally or specifically within the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Well, I've been a resident of Elk Grove for over 30 years, and my son has graduated from Elk Grove Unified. I currently have a 6th grader at Marion Mix. And so my experience in the district, you know, I'm grounded in the district in that I have vested interest. I've been a parent advocate for well over 10 years with the Concerned African American Parents Organization, where we develop training for parents, teaching them, you know, simple things of reading transcripts, understanding A through G requirements, etc., discipline, how to navigate the school system. We also help monthly parent meetings to keep parents informed, engaged, and heard. So we always provided a platform. We always provide a platform for parents to participate. We've conducted tutoring at Donner, supported parents in meetings, bridged gaps with teachers and admin, and even bridged gaps between parents and students. We always had parents on campus, and I say we because as a leader and a board member of the Concerned African American Parents, I had to create and facilitate a lot of these things, and I also did the work as well. So we had parents on campus providing supportive figures on campus for particularly students of color. We had scholar programs where we recognize student achievement, and that's just not honor roll, that's any student achievement, even, you know, just making those small gains from an F to a D. Students really need to be acknowledged. We've done home visits, we've mentored, so many different things within the Concerned African American Parents that I personally have done and help facilitate do. I also am a co-advisor for Black Student Union at Laguna Creek High School. My son graduated in 2012, but because of the need of our students and our community, I continue to act as advisor. And as a BSU advisor, I provide leadership, training, and guidance to students. I teach them how to work with others. I provide them with support and mentorship. I develop relationships and bridge the relationships with them in the community. Expose them to college, take them on field trips. So many things that we do with BSU, we hold meetings all the time to make sure we keep students connected. And we also have meetings district-wide. I participate in those district-wide meetings. And I also am a part of the United Black Student Unions of California, which assists BSUs throughout California, providing support to the BSUs, students and advisors and district staff, providing resources, college exposure, college readiness. So I've been doing this work for well over 10 years. I also participated within Elk Grove Unified. I currently participate in the Superintendent's Parent Advisory Committee. I've also have been on the PTSO at Laguna Creek, part of the football booster club there, school site council there. I've also started the Sports Careers Academy parent organization back in 08 or 09. I also, when my son was entering into 7th grade, students in the Region 4 area had to take 2 buses just to get to Eddy. And so I worked with E-Trans, Elk Grove Unified's transportation department, as well as the city of Elk Grove, to create 1 bus route for students in the Region 4 area to go to Harriet Eddy. And that's the thing. Those are the things I currently do in the, I do all these things in the district. And that's not included what I do at work. So at work, I am always in a leadership role. I monitor districts throughout the state, dealing with special ed. And so I'm constantly providing leadership to these districts and ensuring that they're supported and giving the resources that they need to meet not only compliance, but also to serve.
5 minutes, Madam President.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, candidate number 1, Thortona. Candidate number 2, please share your experiences in leadership roles and any examples of working in education, generally or specifically within the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Perez, for that question. I've had the opportunity to play a leadership role in my professional capacity as well as my personal capacity. I've had the opportunity to shape policies on behalf of our state's children and most vulnerable communities. I have had over 12 years of experience in education policy and subject matter expertise on issues related to early education, school finance, K-12 education, and those are the values that I really think I can bring on board as a trustee. I'm so proud to say that I have worked across the board with multiple governors, legislators, state superintendents of public instruction, labor unions like CTA, management groups like AXA and CSBA, our tribal community and foundations. I've built coalitions and unities between different sectors, whether it is to build a stronger ECE preschool connection with our K-12 system, or whether it is to a stronger pathway for our high school to higher education, such as my work developing college readiness grants to prepare more high school students from underserved communities for college. I've led and support transformative policies that has a direct impact for our states in EGUSD, such as the creation of transitional kindergarten. Along with partners, I helped shape the local control funding formula to what it is today by embedding in an equity point of view. I co-developed Welcoming and Safe Schools for All platform with the former superintendent of public instruction, Tom Torlakson, and a model that can be used by school boards to celebrate inclusivity and diversity in our districts. I'm so pleased to hear similar work is being done within EGUSD by schools like Prairie Elementary to bring about inclusivity and understanding of all backgrounds. I have written and co-sponsored legislation along with organizations like Equality California, representing the LGBTQ community, so schools have the ability and guidance to tackle bullying head on. This work is highlighted under Students' Right and Resources on EGUSD's district's homepage. I'm so proud to see all of that work I have been able to accomplish at the state level and which has a direct impact on the children of EGUSD. That's why I pursued policy at the state level. That is what I hope to achieve at the district level. In my personal capacity, I was appointed by the Speaker of the Assembly on the Governor's Early Childhood Policy Council, which is to make a roadmap for early education for the states, within early education for the state's children. It is going to have a direct impact on EGUSD community, because we are thinking about how to make sure we can provide preschool for all or TCare for all of our children across the state. On my personal capacity, I'm a mentor to many high school students within my community, many college students, helping them with their college applications and really trying to figure out, what is the best route that they want to take in their career path or educational path. So as a leader within my community, I'm a mentor. I've had extensive educational experience, and I'm just so proud to see all the work that I've been able to accomplish at the state level really has a huge impact on the children and communities of EGUSD.
Thank you, Ellen. Candidate number 3. Please share your experience in leadership roles and any examples of working in education, generally or specifically within the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Education is a value that has been instilled in me by my parents, and I have lived out that value by committing both my personal and my professional career to public education and ensuring success for all students. Both of my parents come from Spanish-speaking homes and are first-generation college graduates who became educators. My dad followed the path of administration, eventually being elected as a county superintendent of schools, while my mom was committed to the classroom as an elementary teacher with a heart for serving ELL students. The conversations that took place around our dinner table consisted of listening to my dad talk about fiscal responsibility and creating policies and procedures, while my mom would talk about what those policies actually looked like in the classroom, how they were impacting students, and what the true needs of teachers were in the form of support. And as you can imagine, those discussions could get spirited from time to time, but they gave me the unique perspective of seeing the challenge of trying to balance the design and need to carry out policies and procedures, even with good intentions, and then seeing the reality of how those policies are actually implemented in the classroom and their impact on students. These conversations provided a foundation in how I see situations from multiple perspectives and have been able to use that skill in navigating my work in the field of education. I've committed both my personal and professional career to ensuring systems of public education meet the needs of all students. I've done this by focusing on access and opportunity, building college and career pipelines, improving college graduation rates, closing equity gaps, and addressing issues of campus climate. In my career, I've consistently worked to address those issues of inequities, continuing my parents' legacy of being a change agent. In my current position, I work for the California Community College System and oversee a statewide team that is charged with educational reform, supporting the implementation of equitable policies and practices that ensure student success at all 116 community college campuses. Our state chancellor is proud to have very audacious goals for what student success should look like in the community college system. My team is responsible for supporting colleges in meeting those goals. They are looking at everything from changing hiring practices to ensure that faculty and staff reflect the diversity of the students they serve, to looking at what does equity mean in the classrooms. Small things such as how do you design a syllabus looking through an equity lens? What professional development do we need to provide to faculty to address implicit bias? what are we doing in terms of looking large scale at systems that need to be broken down and then rebuilt to ensure that they are meeting the needs of all students and that all students receive quality education that are preparing them for success. My experience in my current position is just one area that I can contribute towards the equity work that you've already begun as a district. In addition to my professional career, I have also committed my personal time to working in the K-12 spaces. As my oldest son was preparing for kindergarten, I joined a group of parents and created a partnership with the district and the university where I worked to open a new school that delivered a project-based learning curriculum. I became more than an involved parent. I became a parent leader. I have been a PTA president. I have sat on school site councils, was a member of the district LCAP committee, and worked with the school board to bring awareness and address issues of equity in a collegial manner in my former community. When my husband and I made the decision to relocate to the Sacramento area, we specifically chose to make our home in Elk Grove for two reasons. The first being that it was important that our community and our children's classrooms reflected the diversity of our biracial Latino and African American family. The second was that as a parent of two school-aged boys, we saw the data that showed Elk Grove as a high-achieving district and the emphasis that is placed on preparing college, career, and life-ready graduates. In the short time
30 seconds.
that we've moved to Elk Grove just a year and a half ago, I've already been able to join the PTA, and I am the chair of the site council at Toby Johnson. In addition, I've become involved in the community as a member of the Laguna Sunrise Rotary Club. All of these experiences make me a highly qualified candidate for this position. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jameson. Candidate number 4, please share your experiences in leadership roles and any examples of working in education generally or specifically within the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Perez. From a professional capacity, I have over 18 years of business experience in upper management, where I have leadership roles in finance, budgeting, evaluating and managing staff of up to 500. From a personal capacity, as far as leadership role and involvement with the Elk Grove Unified School District, I've served as a parent representative for school site council at Robert J. McGarvey Elementary. There I had the opportunity to work with the school administrators, teachers, and other parent members in evaluating the LCAP and budgeting and planning as well. In addition, over the past 7 years, which I'm very excited about, is I've served as a youth recreational sports coach / mentor to youth, many of them who attend Elk Grove Unified School District. In that role, I serve as a mentor, as a motivator, teaching them how to be competitive, how to have team role playing, how to set goals and achieve goals. I'm also a co-founder of a nonprofit organization which establishes services for underserved Hmong students and children through the use of golf. I'm also very involved in the Elk Grove community. For one example, I'm an American Red Cross blood drive leader and coordinator to make sure that we host blood drives to help the Elk Grove community members. In addition, I host tree planting events in which I invite Elk Grove Unified School students to attend this tree planting event. And the purpose of that is to educate them and make them understand the importance of our environment, the importance of trees in our environment, in our community. I've also served as an advisory committee member for a college program at the Sacramento State University program and other programs in Elk Grove to help out the community. I feel that my dedication and commitment to helping our community and our students would be a benefit to the school district board. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Bua. That's all for question number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Mr.
Thank you.
Fortuna, do you have what you need?
What did you say?
Do you have what you need, sir?
Yes, I was waiting for my question.
Can we change the slide to question 3, please? Thank you.
All right, we'll start off with candidate number 3. And the question is, please explain your definition of the following as it pertains to your role on the Board of Education: transparency, inclusion, and accountability.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Fortuna. I think that applies to every and any school board official. I think as a school board official, you have to be transparent, you have to be accountable, and you have to be inclusive of the community that you represent. In terms of transparency, I think as a school district, we have been given a model through the LCAP process where, you know, we not only it gives us an opportunity to really hear from our communities, our parents, and our children, and within the school sites, that trickles up to school districts in our LCAP plans. It is there for us to see. It is a roadmap for us to be held accountable for, and it's a transparent way for everyone to engage with us. In terms of inclusivity, you have to, I think as a school board member, have to listen to every, as I said in my previous comments before, you have to listen to every individual who has a say and are involved in our EGUSD community or schools. It's imperative, you know, and a perfect example of it is what is happening, you know, with COVID-19 and how well the school board has been able to be inclusive in terms of their decision making and are deliberate in the decisions they make, taking into account you know, input from our stakeholders like our labor, taking into account, you know, from what our parents are saying, what our children are saying, and what their needs are. So it's about that inclusivity. And when you're making those decisions, making sure you're highlighting that and incorporating that into your decision making and policy making. Accountability. We are accountable. Not in terms of, you know, not just in terms of the funds that we are, you know, are charged with making decisions of, but we are accountable to our community, to our children. Within EGUSD, we are in charge with making decisions for 63,000 children and making decisions for around 6,000 adults. So it is imperative that we are accountable to those folks, to the community, to our folks who are paying for this education, the public dollars. So all those 3 things are something that as a school board member, I value, something I think every school board member should keep in mind as they're making their decisions and how we show up as a trustee or would-be trustee.
Thank you. Ms. Jamerson, please explain your definition of the following as it pertains to your role on the Board of Education: transparency, inclusion, and accountability.
Thank you, Mr. Fortuna. I think that these are 3 roles that are integral to being an effective board member. and to having an effective board. Transparency is key. And as was stated, you know, when we're looking at the LCAP, that's one way for us to be able to provide transparency. Transparency also in not just district level, we need to be the model, right? So the board and the district need to be the model for how schools operate as well in providing transparency on that level. Looking at working with the parents as well and our community leaders. Inclusion, when we talk about inclusion, we're looking at all the constituents. We're looking again also at our labor board. We're looking at our community. We're looking at the business community, parents, everyone. The school is integral to the Elk Grove community. It touches all aspects of that community. And I know that sometimes it can be a difficult role to listen to sometimes what can be conflicting needs of your constituents, but it's about making sure that you are hearing, listening, validating those concerns, and then being able to weigh those to make those tough decisions. And again, then being held accountable by those decisions. You know, we are state funded. We also have grants. We also have our commitment to the community. And so being able to be accountable, when you look at the data that you see on the dashboard and statewide data for the district, we are being held to those standards, and we need to be able to be held accountable to those standards. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Mr. Moa, please explain your definition of the following as it pertains to your role on the Board of Education: transparency, inclusion, and accountability.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Fortuna. I think these three items here are very important, and they're all intertwined as part of a school board or board of education. You can't have one and not the other. And what I mean by that is that transparency, we have to be transparent, not only to each other as school board members, but to the community, to the parents, to the teachers, in everything that we do in our planning stages, and you know, the goals that we're setting for our school district. And the only way to be transparent is to be inclusive. Be inclusive of all the stakeholders, most importantly, the parents, the teachers, and the administration. And lastly, accountability. The only way we can hold each other accountable is to be transparent and inclusive of all the stakeholders. Holding each other accountable is the only way I see any organization or any board of education or any board of organization to be successful. We hold each other accountable for the goals that we set for each other and for the district as a whole. And if we can continue to include all the stakeholders and be transparent to each other, we will be able to hold each other accountable. And so that's my definition, and that's the importance of having all three on the Board of Education. You can't just have two of the three, you have to have all of them.
Okay, thank you. All right, and the last candidate in this section, Cortana. Please explain your definition of the following as it pertains to your role on the Board of Education: transparency, inclusion, and accountability.
I think first understanding who we are serving. So we would serve the community, the Elk Grove community, and the students and parents within it. So definitely making sure we're forthcoming as a board member, you know, making sure we're forthcoming to all stakeholders in all aspects, budget. You know, some of the huge issues in the past have been discipline and community feeling the discipline has been covered up. So, you know, really having that conversation with and being open with the stakeholders, with parents and families and the community members that come to support, and be honest. You know, sometimes there are some shortfalls and sometimes there's gains. Like, we have to be honest about where we are and where we're trying to go. That's the only way any progress is made. So that's my definition of being transparent, is being forthcoming, being honest, and being open, having open communication, and in regards to the process. Inclusion, involving all stakeholders, highlighting the community voices, being present in the community to know what those voices are so that I could bring that information back to the board meetings. Having universal goals with targeted supports, making sure, a lot of times we make decisions, I say we in general, make decisions on behalf of all students, but we know that there's always a group of students that are always left out. And those are always the marginalized students that are left out. We have to figure out a way. We know that those students in this decision is going to be left out, but how are we going to support this group of students? Most of the time, they are African-American students as well. So I want to make sure that African-American students, as well as all students, are successful in every decision that's made in the district. Accountability, holding the district to their commitments, and connecting the district's words to the actual experiences of students and families. So ensuring that what we intend to happen in the field, at the school sites, is what actually is being experienced. And sometimes there's a disconnect. So ensuring that we are present in the field to understand not only student and families, but also teachers. I have meetings with teachers all the time in regards to equity. And they tell, the things that they tell me, the learning communities that they need, the support that they need, also just even with the BSU advisors, the support needed for BSU advisors. And this is staff. We have to ensure that the things that we say, like our equity plan, is actually being exercised and practiced in a way to where the experiences of our students and our families and our staff are living what we are intending for them to be living. So that's my definition of transparency, inclusion, and accountability.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Yang, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Please change this slide.
Before I read the question, just want to say welcome all the candidates and congratulations in participating in this process of being appointed to a very important vacancy trustee position. Good luck. Question 4. Please identify 3 issues facing the Elk Grove Unified School District and explain how you would work with the board to address one of the 3 issues. Starting with Gina.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. Well, I think that 3 issues that the board faces, I think obviously, top of mind is COVID and reopening our schools safely, but beyond the reopening is also the recovery, right? With that. So I think that's one issue. The second issue I think that I would like to focus on would be strengthening our college and career readiness pipelines and partnerships with the community college and the Elk Grove business community, and increasing our 4-year college going rate. I think that there's been a lot of work done there, but there's a lot of room to be able to strengthen that if we want to really deliver on the commitment of preparing students to be college, career, and life ready. And I think that, obviously operationalizing equity in the district and addressing equity gaps, moving beyond one-off workshops and diversity 101 type trainings, and creating sustainable equity practices and shared accountability. But as far as the one that I think that I would like to address would be the, safe reopening and recovery post-COVID. So obviously COVID-19 has magnified the inequities that exist in many communities. And we've seen the challenges that families face in our educational system with access to technology and ensuring that we have appropriate professional development for our teachers and support staff. And while I appreciate the work that has been done in this district, I want to be part of that continuing solution to ensure that all of our children have the ability to reach their fullest potential. I want to work together in solving the challenge of creating conditions as educators and policymakers that meet the needs of students who don't have the access, who don't have a supportive home environment for distance education. In October, our district was able to negotiate a contract with the labor union for a safe reopening while adhering to the state health guidelines. And while the plan was not ideal and caused many parents to reconsider sending their children, it did allow for the district and the labor union to come to that agreement, which hasn't been reached in other districts. And as a result, the most vulnerable and marginalized students would be able to come back to campus. And as we know, COVID has had a disproportionate impact on communities of color, specifically African-American and Latino communities. We know from district data that those were two populations that were already falling behind in student achievement. And now there's a concern that they have fallen even further behind due to distance learning. So as we look at how to reopen schools, how are we also going to design recovery strategies and interventions to ensure that we address this equity gap that has just widened and being able to move forward? In addition, we have the challenge of enrollment. I believe it's the district saw a reduction in TK and kinder enrollment of close to 50%. And we know that those students, if they didn't enroll with us at that time, that they were going to homeschooling, they were going to private, we know that that is going to be a great concern and impact us moving forward. And so we're going to really need to be able to work with the parent community, doing real outreach and dig deep to find out what their needs are so that we can meet those needs and recover those students back into our district. So I think that that's obviously a top priority, but I think that there's many issues that the board has already begun working on, and I would love to be a part of the solutions moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second candidate, Mr. Alimoa, I'll read the question to you. Please identify 3 issues facing the Elk Grove Unified School District and explain how you would work with the board to address one of the 3 issues.
Thank you, Mr. Yang, for that question. The most pressing issue in the forefront of our district right now is, of course, how do we reopen our schools safely so that our students and families and teachers can return to an environment of high quality education. That's very important to me as a parent who has 3 and soon to be 4 Elk Grove Unified School District students, to be able to have them back in the school, back into the learning, the high quality learning that our school provides. I would work with the school board members to make sure that we are inclusive in reaching out to all the families, all the teachers, and all the other stakeholders to ensure that we have a plan in place, a plan that everyone can agree on, a plan that follows data to make sure that we're doing and making the decision that's best for our school district and community as a whole. The second issue, or at least what I would like to improve, is the graduation rate of students' preparedness for college. It's important that our school district do everything that we can to make sure our graduating high school students are prepared for college. Currently, right now, as I looked at the data, less than 50% of our graduating high school students are prepared for college. I would love to be able to increase that number, work with the school board members and administrators to develop programs, tutoring, anything that we need to do, allocating funding to make sure that our kids are prepared to be successful in college. The third issue that I would also like to focus on as well is the graduation rate of the supplemental funding groups, like foster students, students with disabilities, English as second language students, homeless students. They are an integral part of our community. And as a school district, I would love to be able to work with community stakeholders, school board members in developing programs to help all of this supplemental student groups graduate, and also have a supplemental, or what I like to call a supplemental plan for them to be successful once they're done with high school. Those are the three things that are important to me that I would love to help out with this community. I would also love to make sure that we can address ethnic studies, migrant students, having visual performance arts in our school. I think those are all very important. I would love to work with the school board members to develop a plan to continue and improve on those subjects as well. Thank you very much, Mr. Yang.
Thank you. I'll read the question to Ms. Kishan. Please identify 3 issues facing the Elk Grove Unified School District and explain how you would work with the board to address one of the 3 issues.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. The district is facing a lot of issues. Some of the main issues that I see is addressing learning loss. We're really not going to see the effects of the learning loss for a few years. So how, as a district, will we address that and get the engagement that we are losing with the students during this time of distance learning, providing resources and outlets, and really looking at the whole child with the mental health and social emotional learning. There's a lot that comes with learning loss, addressing learning loss. That's one of them. Technology is another. Access and updated equipment. Elk Grove is really good. And I was impressed how Elk Grove rolled out the laptops to students, to all students. And so, just being able to keep that equipment up and being able to provide different learning platforms to staff and training staff on the different learning platforms. And also figuring out how we can better engage the students with technology. I think, we're kind of going into a different direction of how we do business and, learning. Yes, it is in face-to-face, but we also have an opportunity to embrace the other ways of learning through technology. And so how will we move forward with that, I think, is an issue. Also, equity. Equity is the biggest thing for me because I think it touches every single part of the district. From the disproportionate referral and identification of students of colors, particularly Black students, disproportionate discipline of African-American students, recruitment and retention of highly qualified teachers, and teachers of color, and admin. How do we keep, recruiting? Increasing the goals of low-performing students and post-secondary preparedness. I think all that is related to equity, and I think I would work with the board by engaging with stakeholders more frequently and figuring out what they need. One of the, in my job at the California Department of Education is really helping districts with their qualitative data and disaggregating their qualitative data, collecting and disaggregating their qualitative data, and kind of seeing where they are as a district. You kind of don't know the experiences of your district until you actually do that qualitative part. Numbers is one thing and can support some of the decisions, but you really need that qualitative. And that's beyond the Healthy Kids Survey. It's more in depth, more focus group related, and really being able to address the needs of the people who are affected. And I think the district is on a good path with the equity plan. You know, I've been fighting for an equity plan for the last 10 years with the district in my work with CAP and with BSU. We brought in people to help staff and work with admin as it related to equity. So I've been a part of that conversation for quite some time. So it is really, I really like the fact that we have an equity plan now. In fact, my BSU worked all summer with the equity department in the equity plan, fleshing out from a student's perspective. So equity is a huge issue. And I think that I would work with the board in garnering the support of the stakeholders in all areas, staff and students and families, as well as the community. There's so many community resources that could come in and really help the district. One, understand the
30
needs,
seconds.
and also to provide the, whatever that's needed to address it. And also try to see how we could build more teachers of color. You know, we have to show them that teachers are professionals and they have to see themselves in us, and we have to kind of gear them towards the profession of teaching so that we can get the teachers.
5 minutes, Madam President.
Sorry, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Khadijat, I will read the question to you as well. Please identify 3 issues facing the Elk Grove Unified School District and explain how you would work with the board to address one of the 3 issues.
Thank you, Mr. Yang, for your question. And I want to congratulate you on your election and your recent appointment by the governor.
Thank you.
Yes. I want to start off with saying the district is doing some really good work with trainings like the Arbinger training that has been incorporated, which values the importance of educating and training our 6,000 adults. The idea that we should see humanity of each individual you come in contact with, it's unique, but it also has to be reminded of that if adults come into contact, if adults come from a good place, then we'll be able to channel that interaction with our children. I've heard from so many folks within the district that how beneficial that training has been. So I really wanna say thank you for bringing that within our district. Which really nicely weaves into our E4 work and our mission for our 63,000 children, which captures the hopes, dreams, and challenges of each child and their families. What I would like to work towards is to implement those things even further. Do our kids see themselves in their teachers? Do they relate to the folks with who they interact on a daily basis? We can do, I think the district can do even better in terms of intentionally bringing more diversity into our hiring, in our practices, in our administration, which will give our children an opportunity to see more inclusivity, equity in practice, and more cultural and emotional connection to adults who are ultimately serving them, who are part of their daily learning and practices, and which will ultimately lead to the success of the children. So I want to start off by saying that we're doing good work, but we can take it even further. In terms of early education, I think, well, let me go back to the other point, safe reopening of our schools. We have to work with our staff and teachers and parents to ensure we get our kids into classrooms in the safest and soonest way possible. We have to work together to achieve that goal in immediate terms for the betterment of our students. As we move forward, I believe there's a way to safely reopen schools, keeping in mind the needs of our highest needs students and families. Our students with disabilities, foster youth, ELLs, our students who we were already losing to achievement gaps and chronic absenteeism, and keeping in mind our parents who do not have the luxury to work from home. all of this also carries a burden that is often not visible, and that is of mental health and social and emotional needs of students who are suffering in silence. It's a balancing act that we need to focus on, and I truly believe the leadership of this district is ready to tackle. I will be listening to experts, studying the data, engaging our labor partners, listening to our students and parents, and also improving upon distance learning. All of that, I think we can do better. We can still do better. I am worried about the district's potential negative certification. Almost 700 student loss instead of growth in our future enrollment is an immediate threat in our district, which has a potential impact for the next 13, 14 years within our districts. So that goes to my point about early education. How do we build better partnerships with our early childhood programs? How do we build better partnerships with our private providers and preschool programs to make sure and ensure that these kids are matriculating into our kindergarten programs? We have to start that early. And I feel like, that is one of those things we can do better to ensure that this negative certification that can come our way is not happening in the future. It's not just about bringing the dollars.
30 seconds.
It's also going to help us in making sure that these kids are ready for kindergarten and beyond. And one of the biggest things our district is dealing with systematic racism. I want to make sure we're able to help our Black and brown children graduate, making sure that we can do even better so we're not losing them to suspension and expulsions, and making sure that they're on track by long-term plans, by creating maybe long-term
5 minutes, Madam President.
So there are so many things that we can do better.
Thank you.
Mr. Yang. Ms. Charis Espinoza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I get the easiest question, I guess, of everyone. I get to ask you to provide a 3-minute closing statement, and the order of respondents will be Mr. Mua, Ms. Thorntona, Ms. Alam, and Ms. Jamerson. So first up, Mr. Mua, would you please provide us with a 3-minute closing statement?
Thank you, Mrs. Charis Espinoza. And thank you, board members, Superintendent Hoffman, for this opportunity to be interviewed or as a candidate for the school board appointment. First, let me thank you for your service to our school district. You've all done a great job, and I appreciate that. As I mentioned earlier, as a parent of 3 and soon to be 4 Elk Grove Unified School District students, we've been in the district for over 7 years. And during that 7 years so far, we've met many excellent teachers, administrators, and families. A lot of families currently have been hit hard due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and many families have lost their jobs, their homes. Some have even lost loved ones. The unintended consequences of school closures have had disproportionately impacted many families and students in our district, including loss of learning by students of diversity background, students with disabilities, and students of English language learners. The achievement gap has widened for these student groups. And once we reopen the schools, our district will need to carefully, expeditiously, and compassionately find a solution to resolve this challenge. As a second-generation American, I see the importance of a high-quality education for our children. As a former English learner, language learner, I understand the difficulties that our current English learning students are currently experiencing. As a working parent, I understand and also am compassionate to all the working parents who are dealing with the distance learning of their children. I recognize there are many challenges that our school districts has ahead of us. If appointed as the next board member for Trustee Area 4, I am committed in working with school board members, superintendent, administrators, parents, and all stakeholders in reopening our schools and continuing to build a school district that will provide high quality education, increase educational equity, and be a leader in ethnic study programs and visual performance arts. As a parent, an attorney,
30 seconds.
a community volunteer, I believe that I have the knowledge, the integrity, and the compassion for what it takes to be a successful board member and contribute to the board. Thank you so much for your consideration. And I rest my closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mua. Next up, Ms. Thorntona, would you please provide us with a 3-minute closing statement?
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate everything you all do, and I appreciate this opportunity. Being a resident and having students in the system, I am ultimately vested in this. I have been doing this work over 10 years of ensuring better student outcomes in this district. So I know the needs of the families and communities and teachers, especially in the Region 4 area. From Donner to Eddy to Mix and Laguna Creek High School. I've been involved in all 4 of those schools and have worked with parents and teachers and students. My involvement with, I know that the K-12 education system. I work for the California Department of Education and Special Education, where I have to apply laws and regulations on a regular basis. But not only that, I worked in the executive office with State Superintendent Jack O'Connell and Chief Deputy Gavin Payne and Branch Deputy William Ellerby, overseeing a multitude of programs such as nutrition, facilities, transportation, charter schools. So I have a wealth of knowledge as it relates to the different programs and how these programs, the complexities of these programs and the laws and regulations that govern these programs as well. So I also know how they affect our students and the decisions we make as board members, how that would affect receipt of those programs at the student and family level. So I am familiar with the K-12 education system as well as specifically Elk Grove Unified School District. I've worked with district staff. I've worked with board members. I've worked with admin at school sites and teachers. So I am a part of the community, the Elk Grove Unified School District community, and I am equity. Everything that I do is with the equity mind frame and with a cultural lens. I have
30 seconds.
I have fought for equity, and I will continue to fight for equity for all of our students to ensure our students feel connected, represented, and become leaders of our future. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Thorntona. Next up, Ms. Alam, would you please give us a 3-minute closing statement?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Jerez Espinosa. I am a proud product of California's public schools, which changed my life for the better. My story is of a 13-year-old girl who came from Pakistan with her family with almost nothing. I was one of those very students who would now fall under the English language learner category, low income categories that our state and school prioritize under LCFF. I was one of those very students whose parents held 2 jobs each to make ends meet and could not engage with the school in a meaningful way. I was one of those very students who relied on programs like Educational Opportunity Program to navigate college pathways and applications. I was one of those very students who relied on excellent teachers and counselors to help me guide through every bit of high school because no one in my family had gone through the system before. Due to this great public education, support, and guidance I received, I was able to attend one of the best universities in the world, UC Berkeley, and go Bears, by the way. And because of this, Many doors opened up for me professionally at the highest level. My hope is that I pay this gift forward, serving and showing that our children can dream big, can go to the best universities or choose meaningful career pathways that excite them. I want to be able to help shape policies that help create a vision that would create many more success stories. I want to be a role model for those young girls and boys who need to see someone like themselves in places they may not have imagined. That is the power of excellent public education. And that has been my fuel and foundation of my professional journey in education policy. I want to be able to continue to build on that work that you all have been doing and think through solutions for what can be done better. I have dedicated my career to advocating for social justice, public education, and racial equity issues. And I have done so with partners that are often not engaged, like our tribal partners. This year will be an extraordinary in how we handle the reopening of our schools. COVID-19 pandemic has shed light on some serious inequities that exist in our education system.
30
this
seconds.
Pandemic gives us an opportunity to upend those inequities in the immediate term, but also obligates us to look for long-term solutions. I have the knowledge, passion, and experience to serve on the school board. I cannot wait for my child to enter kindergarten next school year and take advantage of programs like VEPA, and be sure that I'm committed to this district alongside you, committed enough that I will be running in 2022 for this board seat. And I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Ms. Alam. We will be deducting points for making us cry. I'm just kidding, we cry all the time. Ms. Jamerson, would you please provide us with a 3-minute closing?
Yes. Okay, and again, I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to share with you my qualifications and experience for this position. And I hope I was able to convey my passion and dedication for this work. I am action-oriented, solutions-based, and equity-minded. I have a track record for rolling up my sleeves and moving from discussion and ideation to operation and implementation. I thrive when working in a team, bringing my ability to see an issue from various perspectives and working to find resolution while creating buy-in. I make sure that all voices are heard at the table when decisions are being made. As a parent of children currently enrolled in the district, I have a reason to be personally invested and committed to continuing the positive trajectory of the work that this board has done, while being ready to tackle the challenges that we still face. Last Friday, I listened to the principals from Area 4 and the Valley region provide the board a report how their schools were addressing the needs of their students and family. And while I was impressed with their focus on equity, addressing the needs of their most marginalized students, I was even more impressed with the questions asked by board members. Board members dug deeper and asked questions about how strategies were being implemented and then assessed. They asked about responsibility and accountability. And when schools were experiencing successes, they asked how were those promising practices being shared out with fellow principals. The questions asked by the board members showed a shared value of equity and their commitment to serving all students throughout the district. This is a governing board that I feel I can contribute my experience and live out my personal values of education and service. I'm an educator with over 20 years of experience working in public education. I understand systems, budgets, the challenge of implementing state mandates on the local level. I have lived out my values of education and service as I have committed my personal time to working in K-12 environments dedicated to student success. In the short time that I've been a resident of Elk Grove, that year and a half, most of which has been during quarantine, I have still found the opportunity to join the PTA of my 2nd graders elementary school, and I'm the chair of the site council at my 7th graders middle school. I have become a member of the Laguna Sunrise Rotary in an effort to be of service to the Elk Grove community. I hope that you can see the wealth of my experience and knowledge and dedication that I would bring to this position, along with a fresh perspective to the district. I've committed both my personal and professional career to ensuring systems of public education meet the needs of all students. I would be honored to be selected as trustee for Area 4 and given the chance to serve the students of Elk Grove while supporting district leadership. As one of the principals stated last Friday, leadership sets the tone. I want to be a part of a board that wants to set the tone and lead by example. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jamerson. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. What amazing people. I appreciate you being in our district. I'm going to call for a 20-minute break, and I will call the meeting back to order at 6:52. This will allow for any additional public comment to come in and for us to sort public comment.
Ms. Albiani, just as an FYI to the board, the window's gonna stay open for the 15 minutes. We're gonna organize, we'll give you an email to the board that will have all of the comments that have been submitted to the deadline, and they will be in the order in which they were submitted. And then we're gonna do a reshuffling by candidate to organize them for the readout, but the board will get an email very shortly as soon as the window closes with all the comments that were submitted.
Are there any questions at this time? Okay, thank you. I'm going to take that break then, and that has us back now at 6:53.
We got it pretty well wrapped up. Santi just needs a couple more minutes, and we'll be ready to go.
Yeah, I see the comments are already in our inbox.
Yep. That's the straight way in which they came to us, and they're doing the sort, so it's easier to read them.
Would you like us to just do a 5 more minutes?
That would be great.
Okay. Everyone will please give us 5 more minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Hello, sir. We took a couple more minutes, so we'll be back. We'll be back in just probably 2 more minutes.
I have a question.
Okay.
So when the last speaker spoke, we're going to get 15 minutes from that time for everybody to present something?
For each candidate. No, not now. We're just going to do public comment for 15 minutes of each candidate. But we provided you with all the comments.
So when was the deadline for the 15 minutes?
15 minutes after the last candidate spoke is when we closed the window.
So what time was that?
Ludi's doing that outside. It was 15 minutes after the last candidate. So I don't know the exact time.
Okay, but I mean, I think she should announce that at that time.
It's closed and done.
It's closed, right? Oh,
Yes, sir.
we had an hour, half an hour break, right? How much time did she give us?
20 minutes, but we ended up taking 5 more.
Okay, so she wanted us to get back at what? 53 minus 15, right?
You know, the comments are exactly what one would expect. Everybody's camp was writing. And they are all good people, okay?
All right, gentlemen. Are we in a good spot now, Mr. Hoffman?
I believe we are.
Great. Mr. Yang? Mr. Yang, are you there? Can you turn your camera on or let us know you can't turn your camera on right now, but you're with us? Can you text him real quick, Mr. Hoffman?
I'm with you guys.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, so for our next part, we will read the public comments sent in for each candidate. We will read for up to 15 minutes for each candidate, or all of them if it does not reach that point. And then at the end, if anything was not able to be read, we will read the names of the people who sent in a notice or a letter of support for that person.
Ms. Albiano, we have one comment that was not candidate-based, but was process-based. So we just wanted to read that one.
Let's start with that.
Madam Chair, can I just make one brief statement before we get into that? I'm going to turn off my camera, and since it's not our practice to turn off our cameras, I just wanted to state the reason. First, I'm going to eat my dinner, and that will be very unattractive viewing for our audience at home. And two, I'm recovering from a surgery, so I need to switch position. And I just want to be clear that I mean no disrespect for our applicants tonight and those folks who have submitted public comment. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh gosh, where did you guys go?
We're all still here. You can't see us?
Oh, okay. All right, can you see the panic on my face? No, I cannot see anyone.
We can see you. We can see everybody.
Oh, there we go. Okay, I apologize. I've done a lot of these now. I haven't had that happen. Okay. We'll have the process question, and then Mr. Pierce will time the 15 minutes for us as we go through. Ms. Pinkerton, he'll take care of that for you and pop in when needed.
Yes, Madam Board President Albiani. All right, I will begin with the first comment related to the selection process. Good evening, EGUSD Board Trustees. Thank you for your commitment to transparency in this appointment process. As you consider this very important vacancy appointment, I want to remind you of your racial equity promises to the community. During these times of racial tension, it's essential that you appoint someone who understands the needs of our Black and Brown students. We need a board member who will fight for those needs and not just talk about it. Please consider that representation matters also. It's my greatest hope that you make a decision based on the needs of our students and not for political reasons. Thank you for your time. Okay, I will begin reading the public comments for Mr. Ali Moa. This comment comes in from Nicole. Hello, my name is Nicole, and
I have a question. I have an Excel spreadsheet of the comments, correct?
Yes, you were mailed a spreadsheet, Mr. Perez, but we are going to read them into public comment.
And how are you, okay, are you gonna read number one? Okay, are you gonna go down the list?
We've resorted them by candidate. So we're going to read them by candidate, but we gave them to you. We gave them to you. Let me finish, please. We gave them to you in the order in which we received them, so you could see when they came in. So you'll get both, the benefit of both.
So where is the sorted? Is one of the tabs sorted?
We have not sent you the sorted one. We can send you the sorted one if you want the sorted one.
Yes,
Okay.
because if you're gonna go by the sorted, I need to follow that.
Okay, we'll send it to you.
Mr. Perez, are you fine with us starting, or would you like us to wait till you let us know you've received that?
Hold on. How did you guys get a sorted one? And I didn't.
We didn't get a sorted one, Mr. Perez. I plan to just listen and take any notes that I need to on my own,
Okay.
as I do with usual public comment. You are not muted, Mr. Fortino. I don't know if you wish to speak. I just wanted to let you know.
I just hit it.
It's being downloaded and sent right now. It will take a couple of minutes.
Thank you. So how many public comments total do we have?
I believe there are 74, Mr. Perez.
And you divide them by candidate, correct?
We put them into candidates, and each candidate has up to 15 minutes of public comment that will be read. And then at the end, we will go back and read the names of anybody that had signed a public and submitted a public comment that gave us their name, to say that candidate B also received letters from these people, and we will list them.
Thank you.
The list has been sent.
Mr. Perez, can you check however you receive your emails?
I'm waiting. The last one I received was 6:52.
Just sent.
Should be coming right now.
This is a test for Comcast or whoever your provider is.
Thank you, it's here.
Okay, excellent. We're going to go ahead then. You're good, Mr. Perez?
Okay, I'm gonna open it.
All right.
Oh,
Okay, Mr. Perez, I don't want to get interrupted again. I just think it's rude to Ms. Pinkerton. So is there anything else you need?
well, I'm just asking a question on the process. So you're gonna start, the first name is Nicole, Pang, Mai, Seth, and Ying, right? Down that list?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good. Will you mute your mic, please, Mr. Perez?
Okay, I will continue. I will start with Nicole's comment for candidate Ali Moi. Hello, my name is Nicole and I'm a proud parent of 2 children attending an EGUSD school. I also received my education within EGUSD. It is very important to me that a school board member is an individual who is capable of representing a diverse community, someone who can be the voice for so many underrepresented families in EGUSD, as well as an individual who is grounded with great moral conviction, who strives to provide my children, our children, the best education possible. I believe Ali Moi to be that individual. Next comment from Pang Vang Lee. Hi, I am excited to hear that Ali Moi is running for Elk Grove School Board member position. I am in great support of his appointment to the open position. He has always encouraged my children on the importance of education. My oldest is a graduate from Florin High, and I still have 3 students in the district, with another joining next year. I hope to see great leaders like Ali join the team and to continue to help our children and students stay positive and encouraged. Next comment is from Mai Tao. Hello, I am writing in regards to the appointment of Ali Moi for School Board Trustee 4. I am in support of his appointment for the School Board Trustee position. He is an honest worker who cares for the community, the students, and education. He would be a great addition to your team. Next comment comes from Seth Lee. Hi, my name is Seth Lee, a recent graduate from Florin High School, and I am in support of Ali Moi for School Board Trustee 4. He has always supported me and listened to my concerns. If I need help in school or with life, he has been there and encouraged me and helped me to see options or find answers. He is the right person for School Board Trustee 4. Please select him for the position. Next comment is from Ying Vang. Hi, my name is Ying. I am a parent of 3 EGUSD students. I am writing in support of Ali Moi for the appointment of School Board Trustee 4. I believe and support Ali Moi because he is a good leader. Ali is one who shares the credit for the success with others and assumes full responsibility for failures or temporary setbacks. Because of his great leadership quality, I have tremendous respect for him. Next comment is from Y. Lore. Hi, I am writing for my daughter, E. Lore, from Fight Elementary in support of Ali Moi for School Board Trustee Area 4. Ali has support from my family and the community voiced their concerns when needed, and I have continuous support anyone in need of help. He will be a great asset to the school board to ensure fair practices and support. I vote for Ali Moi. Next is from Wang Shervang. Hi, my name is Wang Shervang. I am the proud parent of 3 EGUSD students, and I support Ali Moa for the appointment of School Board Trustee 4. Ali Moa is the right person for School Board Trustee 4 because he cares about the families and students of our community. He has organized several blood drives that have benefited many people in our community during the pandemic. Additionally, he organized a tree planting event to provide kids in our community an opportunity to learn the importance of maintaining a healthy and vibrant environment. Ali Moa is a passionate and committed person that will be an asset to the school board. He will continue to promote a high quality education for all our families and students in the district. The next comment comes from Charlie Vang. My name is Charlie Vang. I support Ali Moa for the appointment of EGUSD Trustee 4 School Board position. Ali is a compassionate and caring member of our community who has demonstrated his commitment and passion to help youths in our communities. Ali would be a great fit for the EGUSD, and he will continue to promote a high quality education and help close the achievement gap for all our families and students in our school district. As a resident and parent of EGUSD students, I strongly urge the board members to appoint Ali Moa as the next trustee for a board member. Thank you. Yours very truly, Charlie Vang. The next comment is from Mo Vang. Hi, my name is Mo Vang. I am the parent of an EGUSD student. I am writing in support of Ali Moa for the appointment of School Board Trustee 4. I support Ali Moa because Elk Grove needs a man like him who will rise to any occasion and get things done. He is a family man and understands the value of education. The next comment comes from Belinda Beeks. My name is Belinda Beeks, Pleasant Grove High School PTSA President. I support Ali Moa for the appointment of EGUSD Trustee 4 School Board position. Ali is a compassionate and caring member of our community who has demonstrated his commitment and passion to help youth in our community. Ali would be a great fit for EGUSD as he will continue to promote a high quality education and help close the achievement gap for all of our families and students in our school district. As a former parent of EGUSD student, I strongly urge the school board members to appoint Ali Moa to the next trustee 4 board member. Next comment comes from Olivia Sosa. I support Ali Moa for the Elk Grove Unified School Board. Next comment is from Brian Stafford. My name is Brian Stafford. I support Ali Moa for the appointment of EGUSD Trustee 4 School Board position. Ali is a compassionate and caring member of our community who has demonstrated his commitment and passion to help youths in our community. Ali would be a great fit for EGUSD as he will continue to promote a high quality education and help close the achievement gap for all of our students and families in our school district. As a resident and parent of 4 former EGUSD students, I strongly urge the school board members to appoint Ali Moa as the next trustee 4 board member. The next comment comes from Nu Vang. My name is Nu Vang, and as a resident of Elk Grove and a grandparent and grandmother to students of Elk Grove, I support Ali Moa for the appointment of EGUSD Trustee 4 School Board position. I have witnessed firsthand Ali's dedication to helping students in the community. He cares for the next generation, and he is committed to help and support children and students. I strongly urge the board members to vote and appoint Ali as the school's board trustee 4 member. Next comment comes from Anthony Clayton. Hello, my name is Anthony, and I support Ali Moa for the appointment of EGUSD Trustee 4 School Board position. Ali would be a great fit for EGUSD as he will continue to promote a high quality education and help close the achievement gap for all of our students and for all of our families and students in our district. As a resident, uncle, and cousin of EGUSD students, I strongly urge the school board members to appoint Ali Moa to the next trustee 4 board member. Next comment comes from Robert Ireland. In my view, Ali Moa would make a fine addition to the school board. He has demonstrated his commitment to the community through his various voluntary services. 3 of his children are in EGUSD schools and a 4th will soon follow. So he has a very personal stake in the quality of local public education. He served as a member of the school site council at McGarvey Elementary, working with administrators, teachers, and other council members, all of which allowed him to experience and understand the many challenges our schools face. I am in my 80s, but I have always believed our country's future depends on how well we educate our young people. Ali shares that belief and puts it into practice. He is a team player and would bring valuable experience and personal commitment to your board. Thank you for your consideration of his candidacy and for your service on the school board. The next comment comes from Orlando Fuentes. My public comment is in support of Ali Moa to fill the vacancy on the Elk Grove School Board. I have known Mr. Moi for a while now, and I find that he has the skills, integrity, and commitment that we all look for in a school board member. He has demonstrated his commitment to the well-being of students his whole career. In the not too distant past, Mr. Moi approached me as a board member of the Cohesiveness Community Service District to initiate blood drives using our CSD facilities. Similarly, he approached me to set up a tree planting event at CSD parks to encourage young folks to learn about the value of the environment plays in our lives. Additionally, in his law practice, Mr. Moi specializes in helping the little guy win their suits against large corporations. I asked for your support in his selection as your new outstanding school board member. Sincerely, Orlando Fuentes. Next comment is from Marian Kaiser. As an Elk Grove parent, I am urging the board to not consider Mr. Ali Moi for the appointed position. As our district is facing issues and challenges due to the pandemic, we need a person who understands and cares about the community and students. This position should not be a stepping stone for the start of a political career. Please remember that Mr. Moi led the efforts to threaten to sue the EGUSD as part of his loyalty to his mentor, the disgraced former Mayor Steve Lee. Mr. Moi mentioned today about creating roadmaps. Does he believe that roadmaps that start with threats are strategic to the work of the EGUSD? Our students and families are going through enough. We can't not afford to have this type of behavior lead this school district. That concludes the public comments for Ali Moi. I will continue with Kishwan Thorntona. The first comment comes from Brianna Riso. I give full support to Kishwan Thorntona. Next comment comes from Tyler. I would like to talk about Kishwan Thorntona, who is a consultant at the California Department of Education for their education programs. She participates in various student groups, and I know that her dedication to my city's youth is unmatched. She is caring, personable, and enthusiastic about her work. She would be an invaluable member to the District 4 School Board. The next comment comes from Chandra. As the education programs consultant for the California Department of Education, Kishwan Thorntona has worked as an advocate for the students to promote equality in education. Her extensive work experience in education, as well as volunteering countless hours for Laguna Creek High School student group, make her an excellent addition to the EGUSD School Board. The next comment is anonymous. I have known Kishwana Thorntona for the past decade, and since day one, she has always been one of the most caring, considerate, and compassionate persons I know. It is without hesitation that I recommend Kishwan to be voted as the next District 4 School Board member. The next comment comes from Victor Rabi. I would like to offer my perspective, a brief one, as a 68-year-old retired resident of Elk Grove in support of Kishwan Thorntona and her application for EGUSD School Board. Well educated with a broad experience and credentials within the public education system, Kishwan is very articulate in expressing her viewpoints. She is an excellent listener and, perhaps more importantly, asks the right questions. I endorse her wholeheartedly to the EGUSD Board of Directors. The next comment comes from Clint R. Kishwan Thorntona's advocacy and dedication to equal and accessible education for all students makes her a strong candidate in filling the EGUSD Region 4 School Board position. She has several family members who are students in the EGUSD, allowing her to see and relate to the real needs and challenges our students face on a daily basis. The next comment comes from Michelle Shabir. I strongly recommend Kishwan Thorntona for Region 4 seat on the Elk Grove School Board. As an educator myself, I admire her passion, commitment, and engagement within the community, as well as with Elk Grove schools, and believe she will be an exceptional addition to the board. The next comment comes from Monet Pericarti. I am writing in support of Kishwan Thorntona for Elk Grove Unified School Board. I met Kishwan in 2008. In all the years that I have known her, she has been involved in mentoring students. She has been involved in community outreach through many programs, including the BSU's club at the high school. Over the years, I have had the privilege to witness her her time and efforts into showing kids a path to a brighter future. Kishwan encourages students to become active in their communities through civic engagement and always focusing on education as a way to build a better future. Kishwan is a woman who values education, and nowhere is this more evident than in her own pursuit of her higher education. She leads by the power of her own example, and she is a trusted voice within the community. She will be a wonderful asset to the school board. The next comment comes from D.B. I want to express my support in backing Kishwan Thorntona. She has dedicated decades of her life to advocating for students to receive equal opportunity and accessibility to resources. She is a strong leader with dynamic qualities and possess the drive to improve the fallacies of the educational system.
Miss Pinkerton, I believe it's pronounced Kishon.
Kishon, thank you. The next comment is from Deborah Moore Washington. I am writing in support of candidate Kishon Thorntona. I am a former assistant superintendent with over 15 years at the cabinet level in education. My experience with Ms. Thorntona assures me she is capable and extremely knowledgeable on educational issues. She is articulate, reasoned, and measured with an innate ability to see all sides and problem solve. For these reasons, I highly recommend her as a new board member. I currently serve as president of a motivational leadership development nonprofit organization named the United Black Student Unions of California. Kishon has been volunteering her time serving as in a leadership capacity for more than a decade. She is president of the Northern Region and serves as member of the state board. Her wisdom, calming nature, and intellect helps guide the UBSUC along, allowing us to connect with colleagues in universities and impacting hundreds of students annually. I have great esteem for the board members with whom I have worked developing and implementing policy in the service of young people, listening, putting students first, supporting the hard work of staff and administrators, keeping current in educational matters, and rendering thoughtful decisions and enabling qualities. My many years working alongside Ms. Thorntona allows me to state with conviction that she possesses each of these qualities in abundance. I enthusiastically endorse her candidacy and know that she will be an asset as a board member in Elk Grove Unified School District. Don't hesitate to contact me for further details. The next is from Carrie Malenab. I am Carrie Malenab, a retired EGUSD administrator. I have known and worked with Kishon Thorntona for over 10 years. We met when she was on the board of UBSUC, the United Black Student Unions of California. With her passion for helping young people succeed, strong organizational and communication skills, and the ability to collaborate with parents and staff, Mrs. Thorntona was instrumental in effectively pulling together the BSU groups in the Elk Grove Unified School District, as well as those throughout the region and the state, with a goal of encouraging their growth as students and citizens. When I was vice principal and the Black Student Union BSU advisor at Pleasant Grove High School, Kishon was always available to help our students develop and implement our curriculum and programs. Ms. Thorntona encouraged district and statewide BSU groups to attend regional and statewide UBSUC conferences where they learned how to be strong, successful leaders and scholars. Additionally, she worked with the Elk Grove District Administration to procure funding for buses and registration for conferences. Kishon provided other opportunities such as field trips to the state capitol to meet legislators and encourage students to be active in their communities through advocacy. Not only did she pour into the lives of students, Ms. Thorntona provided trainings for parents, especially parents of color, on how they could help their students be successful via the BSU and CAAP programs. She did all this while being a mother and working full-time. She feels strongly about providing a solid foundation for young people so that they can fulfill their goals. It is with great honor to support Kishon Thorntona in her efforts to enrich the lives of a larger group of students and families as an appointed school board member of the Elk Grove Unified School District. She will be a tremendous asset and has my highest recommendation. The next comment comes from Mary Mendez Lee. I strongly urge that Ms. Kishan Thorntona be selected for the Trustee Area 4 spot on the EGUSD School Board. I currently work with Ms. Thorntona through my involvement with the Student Equity Council and our collaboration with the Black Student Union and Concerned African American Parents Group. I have been continuously impressed by her commitment to our students, families, and staff. Her knowledge and professionalism are unparalleled, and her passion for equity has made our community a better place. She ensures that the needs of students, families, and staff are met and their voices are heard through her tireless work. If selected to fill the board vacancy, Ms. Thorntona will continue to represent the needs of all, especially those of our Black families, students, and staff who have been disenfranchised in our education system and society as a whole. I believe Ms. Thorntona is the best choice for the school board appointment. The next comment is anonymous. I believe that Kishan Thorntona would be a strong candidate for this role for her ongoing work at Laguna Creek. She works with a club I'm involved in called Black Student Union, as well as other clubs that include Student Equity and Concerned African American Parents, showing her ongoing work dedicating time to equity among students of color gives me the knowledge that she will do her job for this role. The next comment comes from Cristale Hazabumutima. Ms. Kishan has been a pillar of excellence since my days at Laguna Creek High School and remains as such. Her experience and expertise make her a worthy candidate. Her mentorship has guided many and underserved and underrepresented students to success. Bringing Ms. Kishan on as a board member would provide a necessary voice to those lacking one within the district. Due to her mentorship, myself and other students in her 2015 BSU class increased the number of Black and POC leaders by 200%, one of many improvements made to the homogeneously white campus, despite the student body being evenly divided by race. This kind of oversight is what Ms. Kishan would bring light to, uniting the district and ensuring that students are represented in both the educators they see and on the board that serves them. I trust you will all make the best decision for students, the students at stake. Cheers. The next comment comes from Doug Craig. Kishan Thorntona. Kishan has played a major role in the Concerned African American Parent Group and BSU Club at Laguna Creek High School for more than 10 years. Her dedication and concern in helping all students succeed makes her an excellent candidate for the Board of Trustees seat in Area 4. Her work expanded throughout the district and state as she took on roles with the state BSU organization. She brings a wealth of education background from her regular job in the California State Department of Education. She will bring a new perspective to the EGUSD Board of Trustees. The next comment is anonymous. I am a former student at Laguna Creek High School, where I had the pleasure of being mentored under Kishan Thorntona as a member of BSU. A good mentor has the ability to give honest and direct feedback, maintain a respectful attitude, knowledgeable, and the willingness to push others to the best version of themselves, in which Kishan demonstrated. She was passionate about the students and opening doors to endless possibilities of success. She was an advocate for minority students and provided a safe place for African American students who struggled academically and led us in the right direction. Please consider having her serve as a board member of the Elk Grove Unified School District, as I have no doubt that she will continue to strive and push our students towards success. The next is also anonymous. Ms. Kishan Thorntona's continuous efforts in ensuring student equity and racial justice makes her the best suited candidate. As the only African American to run for this position, this inspires many of us to continue to take leadership roles. As a Black Student Union advisor, Student Equity Council advisor, and concerned African American parent, Ms. Kishan has great experience in what it takes to make professional choices in the EGUSD Board of Students. The next comment comes from Tinsei Birhanu. Thank you for taking the time to read my public comment. The EGUSD Board does an extensive amount of work. They approve budgets, evaluate different curriculum materials, and often have many meetings discussing important topics. But most importantly, they make decisions regarding the safety and education of students. It's quite outdated that there is no SBR on the school board yet. So until then, it's important that we have people on the school board that represent students as best as they can. Ms. Kishan is the best candidate for that. During our Student Equity Council meetings at LCHS, I also saw how driven she was and dedicated to shedding light on concerns others were ignoring. As a parent, she naturally cares for the well-being of kids and hears firsthand the issues that are going on in our schools. EGUSD has made many improvements over the years, but it also has a long way to go in terms of reform and educational equity. As a student, I can know for certain that as a school board member, Ms. Kishan will continue to advocate for students and ensure accountability. She is the only African-American candidate running, and it's important that the school board represents the diversity in our schools. We need our voices heard and to see a powerful Black woman working to achieve her goals inspires me and my peers to do just the same. She is not just the perfect candidate, but she is also a role model to so many students who demonstrate exactly what leadership and taking initiative is. The next comment is anonymous. This year, I am more than happy to declare my unfathomable support for Ms. Kishan to represent students on the EGUSD School Board. As a Black student in the Elk Grove Unified School District, it is important for the interest of not only myself, but the success of other Black students in the district that Ms. Kishan is elected due to her exceptional experience with students in the aspect of equity issues and with informing other educators on the topic for more than 10 years. As she is a parent and education program consultant, Ms. Kishan knows firsthand how to treat her own children while understanding the prejudices and problems that they may also be facing. She has displayed great care, hard work, and passion for doing the same for other students by participating fully in the Student Equity Council and the Black Student Union on the Laguna Creek campus. I know that Ms. Kishan will do students a great service when it comes to ensuring accountability and action be taken on their behalf regardless of their backgrounds. However, most importantly, as Ms. Kishan is the only African-American candidate running for the school board, it is so important for the insurance of Black students that they see not only a woman who will be able to be their voice, but will also be an inspiration for them. I aspire to do great things in the world, and my passions are most assuring when I see someone who looks like me in a position of influence that once before may not have been made available to me. Ms. Kishan's election to the school board will not only be an action made by the district towards ensuring an equitable environment for all students on campus, but it will also showcase an even further step being taken
Madam
forward
President, that is 15 minutes.
to making sure that students can aspire to do the same in the future. I truly hope these words are taken in accords to consider Ms. Kishan's election to the school board, as I know one thing is for certain, it would be a decision to never regret. The following names had also submitted public comment in reference to Kishan Thorntona. And Ms. Thorntona, I apologize for mispronouncing your first name.
Ms. Pinkerton?
Yes.
Can we go ahead and read through everybody's and then we'll go back and add hers at the end?
Add the names?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next comments are for Khadija Alam. The first comment is for Lorena Flores. I am writing this statement on behalf of Khadija, and I hope I'm saying that correct, Khadija Alam, a candidate for Elk Grove Unified School Board Trustee, Area 4. I strongly believe EGUSD would be fortunate to have a candidate like Khadija who is deeply dedicated to our community. Khadija has the heart, qualifications, knowledge, diverse background, and collaborative spirit that will bring great value to the board. Khadija's dedication to ensuring all of California's children have access to quality education has been consistently demonstrated throughout her dedicated work. Through her role as a Director of Government Relations at the Advancement Project and member of the Early Childhood Policy Council, she has served an integral role in fighting for equity in public systems on issues related to early childhood education and K-12 education policy. She was an integral part of developing transformative education policies, including transitional kindergarten, the California Dream Act, and more. There is no doubt she has demonstrated how much she deeply cares about the quality of education for all students. As part of the EGUSD community, my children have directly benefited from the innovative policies she was directly a part of. I'm grateful knowing that because of her leading efforts, my son will have the opportunity to attend TK this fall. I have had the good fortune of knowing Khadija since our undergraduate college years at UC Berkeley, where we were roommates. Our friendship has persisted through the years, with us both now being current residents of Elk Grove. This community is very dear to me, and as a psychologist, I have seen firsthand the devastating impact that the coronavirus pandemic has had on our children. The pandemic has further exacerbated disparities for children with learning disabilities and students of color. Khadija cares about the emotional well-being and mental health of our children and would contribute solutions to support children to get back in community in a safe and timely manner. The next comment is anonymous. I give my support to candidate Khadija Alam. I grew up here in Elk Grove. 30 years ago, attending Elk Grove High, I was the only Muslim in school. Elk Grove, thankfully, is more diversified. Now that I have children in the EGUSD, I feel that the Muslim voice in the school district and Elk Grove City lacks the Muslim perspective. Mrs. Alam is the perfect person to represent the Muslim community. The next comment comes from Wasim Ali. As board president of CAIR Sacramento Valley Central, California, as an EGUSD community leader, member, and parent, I wholeheartedly support Khadija Alam's candidacy for the Elk Grove Unified School District Board Trustee Area 4. Khadija and I have worked together for a few years as governance board colleagues for one of the largest nonprofit civil rights and advocacy groups in California, rooted in the community, representing, enhancing, and empowering the voices of our region's Muslim community, which includes but are not limited to refugee and immigrant families and many in the Black community. We provide education and outreach legal services across the board, youth empowerment, and civic engagement opportunities. Serving as a board member for a nonprofit as a volunteer, Khadija comes prepared for all our meetings and is meaningfully engaged. She always asks the right questions, as accountability is one of the key components of serving as a board member. Because of her excellent convictions and thinking across different sectors, CARE Sacramento Valley was able to secure one of the largest grants our chapter has ever received. Khadija is also an excellent fellow board member. She is respectful, collaborative, and bring solution-oriented approach to our conversations, something I believe a functioning board must have and EGUSD board will benefit from. One more thing I appreciate about Khadija is that she is always thinking about building alliances and how our work can also benefit communities at large, especially other communities of color. I appreciate Khadija as a board colleague, critical thinker, and a champion for our community. I hope you make the right choice by choosing her as your new colleague. The next comment comes from Chet Madison. Good evening, my former colleagues. I miss you all very much. As all of your hard work continues in many areas, you are now faced with appointing a replacement board member for Area 4. It is imperative that you give your undivided attention to place the best candidate to serve on the EGUSD Board of Education to ensure our school district keeps moving in the right direction. Replacing Bobby Singh Allen with a competent individual is critical to our continued success as a school district moves forward. With that said, I recommend Khadija Alam to replace Ms. Singh Allen in Area 4 Board Trustee. Khadija Alam possesses the expertise in many areas of education and community involvement. I am very confident if Ms. Alam is appointed to Area 4, she will become a tremendous asset to the EGUSD Board of Education. I trust you will all make the right decision. Thank you, Chet Madison, retired school board member. The next comment comes from Fazia Keval. I am delighted to support Khadija Alam's candidacy for EGUSD Board Trustee Area 4. I have known Khadija for over 10 years now. She is a community leader and a role model for our younger generation. As a community leader, educator, and administrator with EGUSD for over 26 years myself, I understand firsthand what our school, community, and board needs. I can strongly say that Khadija will bring a wealth of knowledge and diverse perspectives to the board. Our community has grown dramatically in its makeup and diversity. Khadija is an immigrant who experienced the struggles many of our immigrant ELL low-income children are facing within our district. I've seen her work with diverse groups and stakeholders with a collaborative spirit. She is willing to listen, learn, and synthesize information information and meet the needs of children, families, and partners. I have had many conversations with her about the need for our most vulnerable student populations, and she is always thinking about how to improve upon the great work the district is doing and how we can push ourselves to do better. Khadija has led some transformative work at the state level, which has had a direct and meaningful impact on the students of EGUSD. For instance, her work on early education, pre-K, and matriculation to the K through 12 is something EGUSD can benefit from greatly. I have seen Khadija grow in so many ways. She worked her way up where she is making meaningful contributions at the highest level of state government in the education space. She has tackled personal challenges head on. She has been able to take care of her young family, stayed involved in community work, and has grown in her professional career. She has done so with commitment, humility, grace, and compassion. I know she will bring all those qualities and much more to the EGUSD Board of Trustees. She has my endorsement, and I hope your vote. The next comment comes from Adonai Mack. Dear President Beth Albiani, I am writing to you and your fellow board members of the Elk Grove Unified School District to support the appointment of Khadija Alam Javid to represent Trustee Area 4. Khadija and I have developed a strong working and personal relationship for just over a decade. Our first meeting occurred over our advocacy regarding the expansion of transitional kindergarten and her work on the advancement project's water cooler convenings. At the time, I recognized the compassion and professionalism displayed by Mrs. Javid firsthand. She quickly picked up the talents needed to facilitate the complex relationships between preschool stakeholders and K-12 stakeholders. Coincidentally, during this time, my youngest child was 4 years old, and Khadija was a great sounding board as my family was looking into options for preschool, transitional kindergarten, and kindergarten. I took great joy in returning the favor when Khadija had her first child and was choosing a preschool. It has been my pleasure to witness Khadija's growth from a legislative advocate to her current role as the Director of Governmental Relations for the Advancement Project. She has developed strong relationships in our state capital and has utilized that training and expertise to benefit her community. Not only have she and I worked on legislative policy to address the myriad of equity issues in our public schools, but we have also collaborated on initiatives to support increased funding for the California school system. I believe that there is no better person that could be appointed to represent the families of Elk Grove than Khadija Alam Javid. She is a person of integrity, has immense experience with our K-12 system, but most of all is a wonderful mother, wife, and friend. You can't go wrong by appointing her to the Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Directors. Thank you, Adonai Mack. The next comment comes from Amani Hamid. My name is Amani Hamid. I am a lifelong resident of Elk Grove and recent graduate of Cosumnes Oaks High School. I have known Khadija for over 7 years and consider her a mentor and someone I look up to. As a young girl from a background that is not well represented in policy or decision-making spaces, Khadija has instilled in me and others the importance of public service and making sure we make our voice heard in policy and political space. She always makes sure that I, along with many other young girls within our community, are connected to internships and other youth leadership opportunities that are available. I appreciate her guidance and advice as I navigate through my life and career choices. I am fortunate to have a role model like Khadija in my life and hope many other EGUSD students can benefit from her leadership too. The next comment comes from Ray Javid. Hi, I am writing this on behalf of Khadija Alam, who I have known for the past 12 to 13 years. She has always been one of the hardest workers I've known, always caring for and fighting for the underdog and less privileged. She has been working with the state government to make this a better place for our children, whether with funding or started transitional kindergarten. She has a very important voice in the state and will be a tremendous asset to the EGUSD board to help our children succeed. The next comment comes from Leslie Sanchez. My name is Leslie Sanchez. I am a UCLA student. I had the opportunity to intern with Khadija Alam last quarter, and I am truly grateful for the opportunity to do so. Khadija works with the UCCS program to host UC-affiliated student interns from different campuses on a quarterly or semester basis. She has prioritized doing so even during COVID-19 work from home policies, which is extremely important to students like myself who are finishing college and planning for the next steps in our lives. Working with her was an incredible experience for many years. I was inspired by how deeply committed Khadija is to equity work. Her passion and professionalism emanate in the advocacy work she does and her relationships with her peers. I was struck by her capacity to engage and inspire in my first interview when I spoke to women of color in places of power from diverse backgrounds. During my internship, my input was always taken into consideration, and I was made to feel a valuable part of the team. My learning as a student intern was always prioritized, as I was given meaningful, thought-provoking projects and research opportunities. I had the opportunity to present complex education equity-related bills, ideas to members of legislators, and engage in important policy discussions. In fact, one of the things I worked on during this internship was to be comfortable speaking up, and Khadija played a significant role in my growth. Working with Khadija gave me an exceptional experience of what a successful internship and career can look like. She deeply cares about racial equity. She is committed to representing communities of color, and she ensures that diversity is uplifted in her own office. I am thankful for the experience, along with her mentorship and encouragement to pursue a career in the field. Khadija is an exemplary leader who has proven to many what a strong, courageous, committed, and knowledgeable woman of color can do in male-dominated political and policy areas. The next comment comes from Eddie Carmona. I am writing to support Khadija Alam for Elk Grove Unified School District Board of Trustees Area 4. I have worked with Khadija in advocating for all low-income communities of color throughout the past 3 years, both in the capital and in the community. She's done work with me in advocating for a complete count in the census and ensuring that all communities are included. As a powerful woman of color, I have worked with her in coalition to address social injustices impacting our community and engaged elected officials under her leadership via the Census Policy Advocacy Network, CPAN. In addition, I've seen her perform her duties with the Advancement Project in the utmost professional and powerful fashion. I am sure she will do a great job as the Area 4 trustee with the Elk Grove Unified School District. The next comment comes from Caitlin Schroeder. Good evening. My name is Caitlin, and I have 4 children in the Elk Grove Unified School District. We love our community, our school, our teachers, and the many families that we interface with daily. As a vested member of our EGUSD community, I'm writing in tonight to offer my support to Khadija Alam as trustee. I'm grateful to know Khadija as my neighbor. We enjoy life, connecting in our front yards and sharing life together as moms. We are both from different backgrounds and enjoy learning and listening about each other's cultures and convictions. As we have talked together, I am grateful that Khadija is committed to consider and represent both parents and children. She values involving parents and giving them a voice in the education of their children as primary influencers. She is willing to fight for what she believes is in the best interest of our students, our children. She is willing to speak up for those that have no voice. As a parent, I value this commitment both toward parent and children. I'm grateful to recommend Khadija to this role as trustee, and from my knowledge and experience as her neighbor and friend, know that she will listen, lead, and serve well. Thank you for your time. The next comment comes from Myra Alvarez. This comment is in support of Khadija Alam's candidacy. I have had the opportunity to work closely with Khadija through our professional capacity, as we both work at nonprofit organizations committed to the well-being of California's children and young people. Khadija is a strong champion for the success of every child in every aspect of their lives. As the president of the Children's Partnership, a statewide policy and advocacy organization focused on child well-being, I have worked with
15
Khadija
minutes, Madam President.
Would you like me to finish? It's about half a paragraph. I have worked with Khadija in efforts to advance a racial equity approach to support child well-being, advocating for greater investment in the community-led initiatives to support children's comprehensive needs, ranging from education to healthcare to nutrition and housing. We serve on the state's Early Childhood Policy Council together and have witnessed firsthand her commitment to ensuring the voices of families and their children are at the table in order to strengthen the commitment to the well-being of our youngest Californians. She is consistent in her advocacy for children, always searching for opportunities to strengthen our systems to better respond to the needs of children today. While I am commenting on in my personal capacity, I am speaking from both a personal and professional perspective when I express sincere commitment in ensuring community leaders like Khadija have the opportunity to influence change and opportunity for the children represented by the Elk Grove Unified School Board for Trustee Area 4. Okay. I will continue now with reading the public comments for Gina Jamerson. The first comment comes from Leslie Edmonds. I am contacting you today to offer a statement of support for Elk Grove Unified Board of Education candidate, Gina Geck. I have had the pleasure of knowing Gina for several years as a colleague, fellow volunteer, PTA president, and advocate for student choice and voice. Gina has worked tirelessly on behalf of students since the day we met at an informational meeting regarding a new school. Gina stood up and spoke passionately about the importance of establishing school communities and college readiness, beginning with our earliest learners. We have volunteered together in a shared vision of school districts that valued diversity and inclusivity. Gina led parent volunteers by sharing her vast experience in education and stepping in to the role of PTA president. Gina solidified a relationship between a local university and our emerging elementary school, a relationship that has blossomed since inception. Thanks to Gina's ability to initiate change and develop meaningful alliances that put the needs of our students a top priority. Over the many years I have known Gina, you could always find her in the school parking lot answering questions that parents or staff had about upcoming events or school issues. We all knew Gina would have the answers and would take time to listen. Her arms always holding a barrage of items, from important paperwork to school supplies she was donating to bags of popcorn for movie night. Gina was very present at carnivals, fundraisers, backstage at the play, on the field cheering, speaking eloquently at a school board meeting, or leading an activity on Maker Night. Gina organized fundraisers, field trips, wrote grants, recruited parents, and led professional development sessions for our school community. Gina Geck will serve the community with the passion and commitment she gives to all of her endeavors. Gina has years of experience as a leader in education and would make an excellent addition to the Elk Grove Unified Board of Education. The next comment comes from Nitza Medina Garcia. As a resident of Elk Grove, parent of 2 elementary EGUSD students, and small business owner, I would like to show my enthusiastic support for Gina Jamerson, candidate for Area Trustee 4. I have known Gina for almost 30 years. We met when we joined the same Latina educational sorority, Lambda Theta Nu Sorority, Inc., with me being at UC Davis and she at Chico State. Gina has experience working with the K-12 system as a PTA president, a site council member, and has sat on a district LCAP committee in addition to her career of over 20 years in the public education. Over the years, I have seen Gina mentoring students interested in pursuing college and career students while working at Sonoma State. When Gina moved to Elk Grove, she immediately expressed her desire to learn more about Elk Grove and accepted my invitation to become a member at the Rotary Club of Laguna Sunrise. She rolled up her sleeves and participated in our COVID senior food drives and the Thanksgiving food drives without missing a beat. She also was excited when we had a representative of EGUSD foster youth speak to our club, and on her own volition reached out to them to see how she could help with her mentoring services. So when I shared that there was an opportunity to serve on Elk Grove School Board, I was not surprised to see Gina hold up her hand to volunteer. You see, when Gina sees a need, she is always one of the first to jump to learn about the need and work to find a solution. She has a servant heart, and it makes me proud to be her sister and fellow Rotarian. As a parent of EGUSD students, Gina is invested in the success of Elk Grove. Elk Grove is fortunate to have such a strong candidate with the right experience, knowledge, and desire to serve our school board. Sincerely, Nitza Medina Garcia. The next comment comes from Claudia Curiel. As a teacher at Charles Mack Elementary, I would like to show my support for Gina Jamerson, candidate for Area 4 trustee. Gina has experience working with a K-12 system as a PTA president, a site council member, and has sat on a district LCAP committee in addition to her career of over 20 years in the public education system of public education. She has worked to close equity gaps, build college and career pipelines, and has a long history of creating partnerships, bringing different groups together in the best interest of students. Gina has a working knowledge of state budgets, implementing state policies, and at the local level, and the need to create innovative solutions to address the needs of our disproportionately impacted students. Gina is action-oriented, solutions-based, and understands the power of collaboration to make an impact. I have known Gina for 24 years as a friend and organizational leader. I have witnessed her commitment to the success of students and families in education. Gina has consistently demonstrated her persistent dedication in helping her community in the advancement of educational opportunity for all. It is with great honor to support Gina Jamerson as candidate for Area 4 trustee. The next comment comes from Ruth Vega. My name is Ruth Vega. I am a teacher at Charles Mack Elementary, and I would like to show my support for Gina Jamerson, candidate for Area 4 trustee. Mrs. Jamerson comes with wide experience in working with the K-12 system as a PTA president, a site council member, and has sat on a district LCAP committee. In addition to a career of over 20 years of service in the public education system, Mrs. Jamerson has worked to close equity gaps, build college and career pipelines, and has a long history of creating partnerships, bringing different groups together in the best interest of students. Gina Jamerson has a working knowledge of state budgets, implementing state policies at the local level, and need to create innovative solutions to address the needs of our disproportionately impacted students. Mrs. Jamerson is action-oriented, solutions-based, and understands the power of collaboration to make an impact. I've known Gina Jamerson for over 20 years as a friend and organizational leader. I have witnessed her commitment to the success of students and families in education. Mrs. Jamerson has consistently demonstrated her persistent dedication in helping her community and the advancement of educational opportunity for all. It is with great honor that I support Gina Jamerson as candidate for Area 4 trustee. The next comment comes from Herbert Berry. As a lifelong resident of Elk Grove, former student in the district, McKee, Kerr, and Elk Grove High, and former teacher in the EGUSD for 27 years, I would like to show my support for Gina Jamerson, candidate for Area 4 trustee. Gina has experience working with the K-12 system as a PTA president, a site council member, and she has sat on a district LCAP committee in addition to her career of over 20 years in the public education systems on higher education. She has worked to close equity gaps, build college and career pipelines, and has a long history of creating partnerships, bringing different groups together in the best interest of students. Gina has a working knowledge of state budgets, implementing state policies at the local level, and the need to create innovative solutions to address the needs of our disproportionately impacted students. Gina is action-oriented, solutions-based, and understands the power of collaboration to make an impact. On a personal note, I have known Gina for almost 2 years. I have been blessed to work with her and to get to know her and her family. The morals that her family embodies are a direct reflection of her personal character: loving, nurturing, strong, and fair. She is the perfect candidate for the position. The next comment is from Jason Emperador. As an employee for the last 18 years at Elk Grove High School as a school counselor, a daughter graduate from Elk Grove High School, and a current resident of Elk Grove, I want to show my support for Gina Jamerson, candidate for Area 4 trustee. I have known Gina since attending Chico State University. She has always been supportive and available for her friends and colleagues. She has dedicated many years working in public education and has experience with state budgets, LCAP committees, PTAs, and school site councils. Even though she has been in Elk Grove a short time, I feel that this would be a plus for Elk Grove Unified. She can add a fresh perspective and confidently contribute to supporting decisions that will be made from the education field experiences she has been involved in. She is action-oriented and passionate, solutions-based, and understands the power of collaboration. I hope that you will highly consider her for Area 4 trustee. That concludes all of the public comments for all of the candidates, and I will go back to read the names of those who had entered public comment for Keyshawn Thorntona. They are Christine Thorntona, James Watford, Anonymous, Marilyn Shin, Janine Thorntona, Angelina Brown, Zaria Brown, Ashley Brown, Karen, Tanya Cooks, Matthew Culberson, Viola Merritt, Felicia Forte, Megan Sapigao, the Black Parents Support Network, Anonymous, Bobby Dalton Roy, Tim Thorntona, Vince Sales, Daija, Lorraine Pryor, Anonymous, Lisa Stanley, Anonymous, and that's for Miss Thorntona. The additional comments that were not read for Miss Khadija Alam were submitted by Justin Schroeder, Basim El Karam, one anonymous, Muntaha Ahmad, Leslie Edmonds, I'm sorry, and it ended with Muntaha Ahmad. And Madam Board President Albiani, that concludes the public comments for all of the candidates.
Thank you very much. At this point in the meeting, I would like to start our deliberation and selections. I'm going to ask each board member to give us our top 2 candidates so we have an idea where we stand. Followed by that, I will entertain nominations for the positions. Then we will vote to close the nominations. Once we have nominated people, we will have 3 minutes to talk about the position and what we're looking for in the position. And then we will have a vote in the candidate in the order they were nominated. The first candidate to receive a majority vote will be announced as the elected member. We will not continue voting once a candidate has received 4 votes. A 3-3 tie will result in the nomination motion being lost.
Are we not going to be allowed to make any general comments prior to giving our top 2?
No, I'd just like to collect the top 2 so then our comments can be focused if they need to be. Would you prefer to do a comment first?
That would be my preference, but that is my preference.
Okay, I've heard. I'm going to go ahead with the top 2. Mr. Yang, do you have your top 2 people?
So we are not allowed to make any comments, just,
We're just going to go with our top 2. I'll read out the totals and then we will go with comments and open nominations.
okay. Well, we got great candidates. The 2 person that reached out and called me was Kamidi and Ali. And based on everything that I have seen and read.
Okay, I
First
will go
person
through
I'll
it. We'll
select.
have time to talk. There'll be no.
All right. First
No
person I'll
problem.
select will be Kamidid. Second will be Ali Moore.
Okay.
I didn't understand that name.
Thank you.
Could
Ms.
someone?
Alam?
What did you say, Nancy? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I
Nancy
didn't-
didn't understand what he was saying, Mr. Yang. There's
I
no
heard-
need to tell us a 1-2. We're taking a general one, a general top 2. And Mr. Yang, you said Mr. Mua
Kamidid. I said
and Ms.
Kamidid.
Alam, correct?
I said Kamidid, KD, and Ali Moore.
Okay, so Ms. Alam and Mr. Mua. I apologize, Mr. Mua. Thank you. Nancy chairs?
For me, it would be Ms. Alam and Ms. Jamerson.
Thank you. Mr. Fortuna?
Ms. Jamerson, Ms. Alam.
Thank you. Ms. Martinez Solir?
For me, it would be Miss Salam and Miss Kashana, sorry, excuse me, Kashana Thortona.
Thank you. Mr. Perez? I need you off mute, sir.
Ms. Jameson. And KD.
Ms. Jamison and who, sir?
Said Ms. Alam.
Oh, yeah. Good. Is it-
Mr. Perez, did you say Ms. Alam and Ms. Jamerson?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. My own would be Ms. Thortona and Ms. Jamison. So just so we are aware, just before you start your comments, I wanted everyone to have a little read on this, on where we're at. Mr. Mua has 1, Ms. Thortona has 2, Ms. Alam has 5, and Ms. Jamerson has 4. So now I would like each person to have 3 minutes to talk about the position. I will ask Mr. Pierce to tell you when 3 minutes are up, and then I will ask him to interrupt you again at 5 if you feel you need the additional time. I encourage you to talk about the position, what you're looking for in the position. I don't think there's, I would ask that it is a positive, that we speak in the positives about these people that have so willingly put themselves out for this process, and that you share with your board what is important to you and to bring to this position. Or does that make sense? Is there any question? Okay. So we should go the opposite way now. Mr. Perez. Mr. Pierce, we're trying for 3 minutes, but if you need a little more, Mr. Pierce will tell you again when you've reached 5, and then we'll ask you to stop.
Now, I don't know the process. We are going to, of those 2 individuals, we're going to speak about those 2 individuals or just one?
You may speak. I do not, this is your turn, your time to put in what you would like towards the conversation, Mr. Perez. I'm not limiting you to anything. I'm just asking that you speak in the positives. After we all speak, Mr. Perez, I will open nominations for candidates. Then someone would nominate a candidate. I would ask if there are other candidates. We would nominate candidates till we vote to close nominations. And then we will vote on them in the order they were nominated.
I'm really upset with this process.
Okay.
You and Mr. Hoffman had changed the process completely. And I'm very upset with this process. I spoke to Mr. Hoffman about this process. And
I'm sorry you're disappointed, Mr. Perez.
I tell you what, I'm just going to say one candidate that I support, number 1, Miss Jameson, right now. I'm ready to vote.
Would you like to add anything else? You have up to 3 minutes to talk about anything you'd like, Mr. Perez.
Yes, okay. I'd like to talk about Miss Jameson. All her letters of recommendations were grassroots people in the community, both you know, in our community. Soon she got here, she got into working business. She's a business action, a person. She is well-versed in the education community, like she said, her parents, her mother and father. She has all the qualities, I think, that that she could, you know, talk at every level of education in our district. One thing I've seen, you know, she talks, but there's action behind her. She gets out there. First thing she did within the time limit she was here, she got involved with her community, and the community stands behind her. You know, she works with a variety of you know, Hispanic organizations and African American associations. She's well versed in the community of color, you know, and also Asian. She mentioned, I read her thing, Hispanic serving institutions. There's African American serving institutions. That's the pipeline that we've been trying to develop, or I've been trying to get all my fellow staff into the loop to get that on board. She's at the forefront of almost everything I've seen. But also, I gotta say this, man, we have these other individuals are great. I mean, you know, if we could hire them, I like to hire them even, because they are the forefront of our community. But right now, the person that we need that has, you know, temperament and the communication skills is Miss Jameson. I like that. You know, she's, you know, soft-spoken and well-versed with education all around. These other people, you know, they're at a higher level. You know, I'm not sure they could come down to our level or you know, I know they can, but yet, you know, we need a person with action. And I think she's proven that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Second, Ms. Martinez-Soler.
Thanks. So I appreciate all the candidates brought forth and the time, and all of you have a wealth of experience and knowledge, and that's evident in the answers that each of you gave. Some standouts to me for the board position is somebody who has the knowledge and skill set about our statistics, our graduation rates, the data, and that was evident in some of the answers, as well as the importance of equity and diversity. Also pre-K, those are all components that make up our district. And then the graduation rates and student achievements. I heard a few of you give examples of being in the community or serving on school site council, also PTA leadership roles. And so for me, it's factoring all those components in. I think each and every one of you, also in summary, is you mentioned the importance of stakeholders and communicating with all the stakeholders and bringing in not just our teachers, administrators, our families, our students and parents. And that's evident in the public comments that were given. And that's also, being a district of this magnitude, important to listen and value the feedback of all stakeholders. So I appreciate all of you taking the time tonight to be brought forth and participating in this process. And again, I want to thank all of you. It's truly an honor to sit here with all of you and hear your experiences and expertise and your years of experience in the field of education. Some of you mentioned being a resident of 30 years, to we have somebody who's also experienced and working in education for 20 years. So again, it shows that wealth of you connecting to different families or volunteering in the community from Outgrove. And that's evident in the answers that were provided. And so again, being a board member, it's important to listen to the voice, not just one voice, but many constituents. And again, serving all of our students here within EGUSD. So those are just some points I wanted to mention in summary of what I heard from each of the participants' answers here tonight. And again, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Forcina? Oh, Mr. Perez, could you mute? Thank you.
Thank you. Since Bobby Singh Allen became elected to mayor of Elk Grove, I have been lobbied and I have received many, many phone calls, both of which were to be expected because of my membership on the board and the fact that I'm outspoken. As a member of the subcommittee, I was really pleased that we had 11 applicants, each of whom having a variety of experiences, differences, but certainly people who put children first. I was asked, what are you going to do? Many, many times. And I indicated to each person that for me, that was really easy. And that is that I would do what I've always done. I would be prepared. I would read the materials. I would listen tonight to the responses of the candidates. And then I would rate those responses and rank them. And that's what I did. What I have looked for, both in the written responses to the questions that the candidates had to fill out and tonight, was people who indeed put children first in all that they do, because that's why we're here. It's the only reason we're here. I also looked for someone who understands the importance of equity in all that we do and has demonstrated by their behaviors the importance of equity and the importance of serving those children who are underperforming. What I heard tonight was a wealth of experience geared towards addressing the needs of children and families, addressing the needs of staff, the importance of communication, the importance of involvement. Those are all qualities that we need to have in a board member. There's no doubt in my mind that the candidates tonight have prepared themselves for what they do, and they each have been successful. Again, based on my listening, and it's just my judgment, I have placed Ms. Jamerson and Ms. Alam as my top two candidates.
3 minutes, Mr. Forcina.
I'm done. How about that? Do I get a gold star, Ms. Albiani?
There it is.
Thank you.
Ms. Charis Espinoza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So pretty consistently through this process, when folks have asked, what do I think is most important in this appointment, my response has been advancing the equity work that the district has begun. For those who know our district but don't have a global view, you might not know that Elk Grove Unified is held up across the state as a leader in advancing equity work. But those of us who have our head down and are doing the work know that we're really in the early stages of implementing our plan and making that a reality, making it the lived experience of our students and families. So, priority number one for me is looking for someone who can help us advance that work, and as I said, make it real. In many districts, we wouldn't have, as Mr. Forcina said, the wealth of riches, but we're pretty lucky here in Elk Grove Unified. If I may take a moment, even other candidates who we saw in the subcommittee who didn't advance to this round were pretty impressive in terms of their knowledge, skills, and experience. But we are lucky enough to have the candidate pool that we do. So we are able to look beyond folks who can parrot back to us what our priorities are, what they've heard, our important things, but to people who really demonstrate knowledge that is relevant to K-12 and the work that we are doing, and demonstrate the skills that we need on this board. I also consider it our good fortune to have a pool of applicants for whom racism and inequity are personal issues, are things that they and their families live at home, because it helps us to stay focused. It keeps us honest, if you will. And people who live these issues and face them on a daily basis can all be assets to us in implementing real solutions and policy changes that actually make a difference in students' lives. So with that, I look forward to making a motion when given the opportunity.
Mr. Young? Yang, I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm looking at your initials. I'm sorry, Mr. Yang. I
I
apologize.
thought you were going to say 2 people.
I did, but I'm happy to restate them.
I have them noted here. She
Okay.
has Ms. Alam and Ms. Jamerson, Mr.
Correct.
President.
Thank you.
Mr. Yang?
Okay. Well, I want to say all 4 candidates are great personally and professionally. We got 4 really good selection. So I want to thank the subcommittee for selecting 4 really good candidates for us to appoint tonight. With that said, I want to talk about this seat. And for me personally, I look for their personality, their background, their professional work. And what I really look for is what kind of leadership do they have? The integrity, equity, the policy involvement that they have experienced and been involved in the past. And if they have any experience with dealing with budget. I think it's important because our job, budgeting or adapting budget, it's key. And I look for someone who's believe in data-driven, data analysis and data solution, because we have to use data to help us find solutions, to help our kids, help our school district, so that we will have the solution based on data, not based on others, other things. So tonight, regardless of who gets appointed, I think that he or she will do a good job helping us board trustees moving this school district forward. And most importantly, right now, help us reopen the school for all of our kids. So good luck to all the candidates.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. I, as well as our other board members, want to again thank you and appreciate you putting yourself out for this process. When we have candidates that are of this level, it comes down to small things that matter to you. I feel my part in being here, people know, hopefully, and understand the reason I'm on the school board. And so ties to that passion or filling a different part that I don't fill, that we need filled, that Bobby used to fill, were some of the things that I thought through. Probably my most important thing for me was that it needed to include a person with passion and commitment for public education and students. And second to that was experiences within our school district. Our board's been very diverse. From the moment I entered the board, it was diverse. We had one of the most diverse boards probably in the state of California. And I think the varied perspective that brings to our process is a strength for us and helps us see issues. I think the backgrounds of the candidates, what they bring to the table is very important. I feel strongly some of our candidates have worked very hard in our district, know our district, and I feel that's an asset coming in. And that that was an important part for me as well, balanced with knowledge of the systems of a school district, so able to start the ground running. So I came to tonight with a very clear, unlike Mr. Fortina, I'm not so good at that. I refused phone calls and automatically filed all emails and correspondence and read my binder and came to tonight, and that's how I came to my decision. So I think that's an important part to clear. So my top choice would be Ms. Thortona, and those are the reasons, though the view and the pool we have is exceptional. So I appreciate you all. So I will now entertain nominations to fill the open position of trustee for the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Madam Chair.
On the basis of her comment that she's ready to roll up her sleeves and go to work tomorrow morning, I nominate Gina Jamerson.
Thank you. Ms. Charis Espinoza, you were the next person that went off mute.
I second that motion.
Yep.
I don't need a second right now. Thank you though, Tony. Ms. Charis Espinoza, you were the next person.
Yes. So are you looking for a different motion, or do you want to take action on Mr. Fortina's?
No, I looked up Robert's rules, so we would have no issues tonight, and to be the most fair possible. So the process is, I will take nominations, we will close nominations, and then we will start voting from the first nomination made. And as soon as we have elected someone with 4 votes or more, that will be the person, and we will stop voting on the nominated members.
Okay, based on Mr. Fortina's nomination, I withdraw my request.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations?
I call for the motion.
Okay, I am going to nominate Ms. Thortona.
Hey, I made a motion.
I haven't closed nominations yet, though I did give everybody on my board the first opportunity to make them. So now are there any other nominations?
So, Madam, I want to ask a question.
Yes, of course.
So
I want this to be very clear.
Yeah, so I just want to be clear. So right now we are nominating a candidate, our choice, so that we could vote, make a motion and vote for it, or what are we doing?
Right now we are nominating a person. We have a name 1 and a name 2. Then we will close nominations, and I will do a roll call vote, starting with the first name, and they will either gain 4 and become our candidate, or they will not, and we will move on to candidate number 2.
So earlier I nominated 2, right? So
No, earlier we did a straw poll, so we had an idea where people were sitting, and then we all spoke.
okay. So, but now nominated so that we could go to appointee, the nominated candidates.
No,
right?
so that we can vote on the nominations.
Right.
Do you or do you not? It's the only question. Do you or do you not want to nominate somebody? If you do, make the motion.
Okay. All right, so who is next?
We're not going in order. I took the people who unmuted themselves in the order they unmuted. We have Miss Gina Jamerson as name 1 and Mrs. Thortona as name 2. If there is a third name, I'm going to count to 5 in my teacher counting head.
I call for the vote.
And
Hold on, I have another question.
That's not the process, Mr. Perez, though I will move on as soon as we can finish this part. Ms. Charis Espinoza?
Yeah, just to clarify, if neither of those individuals who has been nominated secures the necessary number of votes, you'll reopen nominations, correct?
Correct.
Got it.
And right now I can nominate only 1 candidate, correct?
Yes,
or I can nominate more than one?
no, one
Okay.
would be appropriate at this time. Is there someone other than Ms. Jamerson or Ms. Thortona that you would like to nominate Mr. Yang?
I nominate Mr. Ali Moore.
Thank you. Okay, I will now entertain a motion to close nominations.
I move to close nominations.
Do I have a second?
Wait,
Second.
Thank you.
I made a motion, just the same thing like that, but you allowed Mr. Forcina to make a motion and you second it. I don't know about this.
Because your motion was premature.
It was not at the correct time and Mr. Yang had more to add to the conversation. So I asked for the motion when it was time, Mr. Perez.
So what time? What's your criteria of time then?
I'm following my script, which I took directly out of the Roberts Rules of Order, Mr. Perez. So now we have open nominations. We have 3 names. I will call for a vote on name 1. If they receive 4 or more votes, we will install them and be finished. If they receive a 3-3 vote, their motion will be lost. And we will move down the line of the people we nominated. We will start with 1, we will go to 2, we will go to 3. If no one receives 4 votes, we will open nominations again.
Let's go.
Mr. Perez, do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, sounds great. Roll call vote. Mr. Yang. Oh, I'm sorry. We will start with our first nomination, Ms. Gina Jamerson. I need a yes or a no. Mr. Yang.
Can I ask a question first?
Of course.
I'm sorry, I just want to be clear. This is very important.
Yes, I agree. Not a problem at all.
Okay, so this right now, if we have 4 votes, that candidate will become
Correct.
the next trustees, right?
4
Correct.
votes and that candidate will be the next
And
trustee.
right now, we have it on the list, is we have Ali, Gina, and Kishan.
As I stated before, they will be voted on in the order they were nominated. Ms. Jamerson was the first, Ms. Thortona was the second, and Mr. Mua was the third.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you for clarifying.
no problem. So Mr. Yang,
No,
Nancy Charis Espinoza,
Aye.
Carmine Fortuna,
Aye.
Crystal Martinez Solir,
No.
Anthony Perez,
Aye.
and I am a no. So that motion is lost. We will move on to our next candidate, who is Miss Thortona. Mr. Yang,
no,
Nancy Charis Espinoza,
No.
Mr. Fortuna,
No.
Miss Martinez Solir,
Aye.
Mr. Perez,
No.
and an aye from myself. And that candidate fails with a 4-2, with a 4 against 2-4. I should say that the opposite way. Our next candidate, Mr. Mua. Mr. Yang,
aye,
Nancy Charis Espinoza,
No.
Mr. Fortuna,
No.
Dr. Martinez Solir,
No.
Mr. Perez,
No.
and a no from myself. That candidate fails. Now we have gone through all of our candidates, so I will reopen nominations.
I nominate
Candidate.
Gina Jamerson.
I,
Hold on, will you give me 1 second? Because I'm being so efficient. I have another piece of paper I have to get to real quick to do this correctly, you guys. I want to make sure I have good record. Where's my extra page? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Perez, you have one? You're off mute, sir. Okay. Ms. Charis Espinoza, I see you off mute. Mr. Yang. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Charis. No, nothing from you.
Just wanted to confirm you got Mr. Fortuna's motion.
I got Mr. Fortuna. I have one person, Ms. Jamerson. And if there, I will count to 10 in my teacher head and we will move on. Thank you. I'd like to now entertain a motion to close nominations.
So moved.
So moved. I need a second.
Second.
Seconded for Mr. Perez. So we have the following candidate, Ms. Jamerson, Mr. Yang,
No.
Ms. Charis Espinoza,
Aye.
Mr. Fortuna,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez Alier,
Aye.
Mr. Perez,
Aye. 4.
and myself. Congratulations, Ms.
No, you
Jamerson.
vote. What's your vote?
5-1, sir,
Aye.
in favor of Ms. Jamerson.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to Ms. Jamerson.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, may we have an opportunity for brief comments?
Yes.
Yes. I just need to get back to this. Ms. Jamerson, congratulations. You've been selected to fill the provisional vacancy on the school board trustee for Area 4. And following short comments will be sworn in by Superintendent Hoffman. Of course, our other candidates, you are welcome to stay or leave at any point. We appreciate your time. We have already taken up a lot of your night, I understand. And of course, you are welcome to stay as well. It is completely up to you. I believe the board might have a comment for you though. If anybody else want to make a comment before the swearing in, Ms. Charis Espinoza, go ahead.
I'll be brief, again, given how much of your time you've all invested in this process. First, welcome and congratulations, Ms. Jamerson. To all of the other candidates, thank you for subjecting yourself to this incredible job interview. It's been an honor and a pleasure to get to know you better through this process and to hear you talk about our students the way I and my board colleagues talk about them, which is as if they were our own children. So I am just so thankful to have you as members of our community. And I hope you know that when people express the kind of commitment and care and concern for our students, we don't let them go. We continue to look for opportunities for them to be involved here and continue to be an asset. So this is not goodbye. I just want to express my sincere appreciation to you. That's all from me, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Did anybody else want to make a quick comment?
Yes,
Mr.
real-
Fortuna has unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Yeah, I kind of echoing Nancy's comments. I want to thank all 4 of the candidates and congratulate Ms. Jamerson. It is unfortunate, as Mr. Perez was saying, we only had 1 position open tonight. This district is very fortunate to have the kind of people living within its boundaries that was shown here tonight. I am just excited. The kind of engagement that's being shown by parents, as was demonstrated in all of the candidates, is just a plus for our kids. So thank you, everyone. And again, congratulations.
Mr. Perez, did you want to speak, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I want to echo my fellow board members what they said, but like they said, hey, we have people in our community could step up to the plate, and it was one of the hardest things I ever done. Replacing another board member besides Ms. Chaidez, and I want to thank all you other candidates for what you do at the state level and the legislative level, because that's where it starts. We need people just like you to advocate for our children, and special ed. That's a big one in our community, and I hope you go forward on that a little bit more, because I plan to go to Washington D.C. To advocate for special ed, because to get those federal dollars over here, the legislators are pretty in tune, and the equity issue that Mr. Thorntona, yes, we need more push for the community people like you. There's people out there doing that, but you're there in education, in special ed, and we need you to spread out district-wide, get that pipeline in there. You're a big asset in that area, but I need you to go to the other schools. That's why I like to hire you or part-time or the other individuals there, because you give so much, while you have so much knowledge, it just, that's all I want to say. Thank you very much, both of you. And Mr. Ali Amua, and I see you soon. You're out there in the community organized. You're doing a really good job out there. And I like you to advocate, for a lot of things that we talked about, and we need to further those objectives. And because I think you're right on regarding English language learners, like all the other people say it, we need a newcomer centers out here, bilingual ed, mental health services to our community, students, and health services, full comprehensive services in the school setting. That's what I'm pushing again. And thanks again to all of you. And you made this a really hard situation for me, but that's what it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Perez. Ms. Martinez-Soler.
I just want to welcome Ms. Jamerson to the board and congratulations. This was a tough decision. Some of you stood out. Ms. Thorntona, the work you do with the BSU, I feel is really vital, and I wanted to mention that as well. And then Khadija, your personal story really touched my heart as well with the closing statement. And Mr. Mua, I know you talked about the teamwork and continuing working with the community. So I appreciate all of your time tonight, and hopefully in the future, because of your interest, we'll see you in some capacity or some role still within education. We had some great candidates with the wealth of experience and knowledge, as I mentioned earlier. So this was a very tough decision, but thank you all.
Also, I'd like to say one last comment to Ms. Jamerson. You could be sworn in today with Mr. Hoffman here, but also you can have another ceremony, whoever you choose, I think. Is that so, Mr. Hoffman? Mr. Hoffman, where you at?
Right here. Yeah, I'm perfectly prepared to do that. Usually it's the board president or the superintendent. And Ms. Albiani was running the whole meeting, so she asked me to do the swearing in. I'm happy to do it, but if Ms. Jamerson has someone else she would like to do that that's here tonight, that would be fine as well.
Jamerson, do you have a preference to who swears you in? Otherwise, Mr. Hoffman's ready to do that at this point.
Can I say something?
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. Excuse me, Ms. Jamerson. Sorry, Mr. Yang.
Well, I just want to congratulate to all four candidates, and I champion all your efforts. It's amazing to hear all the comment that was written to support you. I think there's a lot of people out there that believe in you, and I believe in you guys as well. And because of your professional experience and personal and all the volunteer work that you guys had done. I really admire all of your effort. And I just want to wish you guys the best of luck going forward. As you may or may not know, but you know, this is my first time running, and I got, you know, I felt lucky and honored that people vote me in, but you know, it could have gone the other way. So I want you guys to not be discouraged, but encourage that you guys have built such an experience to move forward to seek another public service seat in the future. So I just want to congratulate you four in that regard. And I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Gina being our newest board member. And that would take me to not the newest board member. So, so that makes me feel somewhat pretty good. So welcome aboard. And, you know, I got about 60,000 votes, and you know, not all of it, because you know the other candidate got plenty as well. You did not get my vote, but you know, your resume and your background very impressed me, and I'm really happy that my colleague select you. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe in you. I believe in all four of you, and I believe in you in particularly now that you are part of our Board of Education. So welcome aboard, and I look forward to working with you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. Ms. Jamerson.
Thank you, President Albiani. Thank you to the board for taking the time. I know that this was a hard process, and to be able to go through the number of qualified applicants. And so I thank you for taking the time to do the research to find the right fit for this board. I look forward to working with all of you. I know that it will be a learning curve, but I feel like I'm ready to start and have positioned myself to be at a starting point that I can actually start contributing as well. And I really want to thank the other candidates. You are all amazing. You are all social justice warriors, and I look forward to collaborating with you. Ms. Thortona, as a mother, I'm raising 2 Black boys, and I definitely felt your passion for the African American community, and I hope to be able to collaborate with you to address the needs of the African American community. That is something that I'm very passionate about, as well as serving all communities in Elk Grove. So again, thank you to all the candidates. Thank you to the board. And I really want to thank, I know that there's a lot of folks that are watching and attending that really helped me as well along the way. So I want to thank the community for supporting me as well. Thank you. And I am fine with Mr. Hoffman swearing me in.
Madam Chair, Mr. Hoffman, just before you do the swearing in, I'd like to let Ms. Jamerson know that if her family is standing nearby, she's welcome to bring them into the shot so they are virtually in the room with her, if that's your preference. If not, say the word.
I think my husband is in the middle of bedtime routine, but I thank you for the opportunity. I know that they are watching on phones somewhere in the house as I'm sequestered in this room, making sure that it was quiet for mom.
I come to district office. That's impressive. Mine are in high school. Okay, let's get her sworn in, please, and finish up tonight. Mr. Hoffman, I'm going to, everybody can make sure you're mute except Mr. Hoffman and Ms. Jamerson.
Okay, so I'm going to say aye, and then you say your name, and then I'm going to give you just a few words at a time. And if I mess one up or I don't say it slow enough for you to follow, just let me know. But we'll go through this night. We did send a copy just to everybody, just in case they want. So right hand up. So aye.
And my family is in the room.
Nice. So I,
Gina Jamerson,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States,
to the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution to the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge these duties
discharge these duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. This concludes our virtual special board meeting. Thank you for joining us. It is 8:48 and I am adjourning.
Ms. Jameson, I'll be in touch tomorrow. Just kind of touch base because